A pristine white Cadillac Escalade sliced through the city traffic. Leo Flynn, who should have been laid up for another week, was already back in action. Thanks to the accelerated healing granted by his unique discipline, his recovery time had been cut in half. He was out, and he was on the hunt. Of the four great families, the Zhous and the Hazes were thorns in his side, for now. But the other two, the Yangs and the Thorns, they were ripe for the picking. The Thorns were already in his pocket. His master's old connections had paid dividends, and the old man, Marcus Thorne, was practically his most loyal sycophant. That left the premier family, the Yangs. He had a plan for them, a precise and cunning strategy. He glanced at the objects resting on the seat beside him, a vintage leather-bound journal and a small, sealed box. A predatory grin touched his lips. The journal contained a revolutionary formula for a skincare product, and the box held a finished sample. With these two items, he would conquer Jessica Yang, and by extension, the entire Yang empire. It was a lock. From the driver's seat, Manny Marcos glanced at the rearview mirror and saw his boss's smile. Damn, that was the kind of effortless, world-conquering charm he wanted. If he could just learn to smile like that, he'd have women throwing themselves at him. A short while later, the Escalade pulled up to the curb in front of a gleaming skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan, the Yang Corporation Tower. Boss, you want to go up with you? Manny asked respectfully. Leo's smile vanished, replaced by a cool mask of professionalism. He straightened the lapels of his tailored suit. No need. The last thing he needed was a third wheel while seducing a beautiful CEO. Clothes really did make the man. Now that he was out of that ridiculous security guard uniform he'd worn for Serafina, he felt like himself again. As he strode through the polished lobby, he drew more than a few appreciative glances, especially from the women. It fed his confidence. Women were visual creatures, after all, and he'd been blessed with a handsome face. He approached the reception desk, stopping a young woman who looked like an executive assistant. "Excuse me," he said, flashing a confident smile. "I have an urgent business proposal for your CEO, Jessica Yang. It's a major partnership opportunity. Could you please let her know I'm here?" The assistant blinked, momentarily captivated, before composing herself. "I'm sorry, sir, but Ms. Yang has a very full schedule. If every handsome face with a proposal got a meeting, the CEO would never get any actual work done." Leo's smirk returned, as if he'd anticipated this exact response. He produced a crisp envelope from his jacket pocket. "This is a letter of introduction from the Marcos family. We have a standing business relationship with Yang Corp." The assistant's eyes widened slightly. She took the letter, her gaze falling on the official Marcos family seal on the wax. Her professional demeanor clicked back into place. "Of course, sir. Please follow me." Leo's smile was genuine this time as he fell in a step behind her. Life was so much better now that he wasn't playing watchdog for Serafina Hayes. What a waste of time that had been. Why'd he ever thought that stupid secret guardian routine was a good idea? If he had just revealed his true identity and power from the start, couldn't he have won her over then? He thought it was entirely possible. After all, look at that useless playboy Asher Vance. He was living proof that women fell for power and money. A few minutes later, on the top floor, Jessica Yang was resting in her office, her eyes closed, when a sharp knock disturbed her. "Come in." The assistant entered, heels clicking softly on the marble floor, the letter in her hand. "Ms. Yang, a Mr. Flynn is here to see you. He has a letter of introduction from the Marcos family. He claims to have a unique skincare formula with remarkable effects, and he's brought a sample. Should I schedule a meeting?" "Wait." Jessica's eyes snapped open, all traces of sleepiness gone. She sat up straighter. "Did you say a skincare formula?" The assistant nodded, a little confused. "Yes. Should I send him in?" Jessica took a deep, steadying breath, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Yes. Show him in. Right away." The assistant bowed and left. A moment later, Leo Flynn walked in, radiating confidence. He had only caught a glimpse of her in profile at the precinct, but now, seeing her head-on, he was floored. My God, New York might as well be called Olympus with all these goddesses walking around. He felt a primal stirring in his gut. This woman, the Dragon King, would have her. "Mr. Flynn," Jessica said, a polite, practiced smile on her face. "I hear you have a project for me in the cosmetic space." Women were born actors, and the more beautiful they were, the more convincing their performance. Her calm exterior was a perfect mask for the tidal wave crashing within her. Was her strange dream about to become reality? She wasn't sure yet, but she had a feeling she was about to find out. "Huh, yes, I have," Leo began, his voice smooth and assured. "I hear Yang Corporation is the industry leader in the States, and you happen to be business partners with one of my subordinates. I believe in keeping things in the family. This is a massive opportunity. Once the production line is up and running, I estimate the formula in my possession could generate tens of billions in pure profit for your company. And if we break into the international market, 100 billion isn't out of the question. He placed the leather-bound journal and the small box on her desk with a flourish. Let the results speak for themselves. Jessica froze. This was exactly what she'd seen in her dream. The next step was her sending the sample to the lab for analysis. Leo settled into a plush armchair across from her like he owned the place, a strange, self-satisfied smile playing on his lips. Before long, the report came back from the R&D department. Just as in a dream, the analysis found no harmful ingredients and confirmed its potent whitening and clarifying effects. Jessica then had a staff member test the sample, and the results were immediate and dramatic. Best of all, the raw materials listed in the journal were common and relatively inexpensive. Leo's smug grin widened. He went in for the kill. I want an 80-20 split. Jessica picked up the small box containing the cream, turning it over in her hands, her expression unreadable. She remained silent for a long moment. Ms. Young, you can have your people verify my claims, Leo prompted. You'll see I'm telling the truth. She finally looked up, and a dazzling smile transformed her face. Leo felt his breath catch. He, the Dragon King, had been surrounded by beautiful women his entire life, but Jessica Yang's smile could eclipse them all, reducing them to cheap imitations. Let's do 2080, she said, her voice breezy. Her generosity caught him completely off guard. I'm impressed, Ms. Young. So decisive you won't even double-check the formula. I'm truly moved, he said, his own charming smile returning, feeling utterly triumphant. Jessica's tactic of yielding so completely had won him over. Forget 80-20. Let's make it 70-30. Only 70-30? Jessica's eyebrow arched. My family is putting up quite a bit of capital, you know. We'll be investing in new facilities, handling all the marketing, navigating the entire launch. For only a 70% stake? That seems a little unfair, don't you think? The formula in the journal was priceless, yes. But without the capital and infrastructure to back it, it was just a piece of paper. If he took it to a second-rate company, they'd never unlock its full potential. To break into the global market quickly, he needed a powerhouse like the Yangs. Leo's smile froze on his face. He felt a creeping sense of dread. You have to be kidding me. When had he ever said he would only take 30%? Ms. Young, when I said 70-30, I meant 30% for you. Clack. Jessica casually dropped the box on her desk. Her smile vanished, as if it had never been there. Mr. Flynn, don't you think you're being a little greedy? He shrugged, feigning helplessness. It's a family heirloom, a secret passed down through generations. I've made a decision that goes against the wishes of my ancestors. I've been struggling financially, you see, and my conscience is racked with guilt. This was a last resort. He leaned forward slightly. But if you're not interested, there's a long line of people who would kill for this opportunity. The subtext was clear. I'm doing you a favor by even being here. Don't push your luck. He was absolutely certain she would fold. This wasn't just about money. It was about prestige. This product could make Yang Corporation an international titan, a brand that could dictate prices at will. But in the next instant, Jessica waved a dismissive hand, a look of utter disdain on her face. Then by all means, go find one of them. My company is too small to accommodate an ego of your size. Leo was stunned. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He asked for too much? No, it was a fair price. Seeing that she was serious, that she was actually about to throw him out, Leo's eyes narrowed. He forced a smile back on his face. Ms. Young, the split is negotiable. Think of the benefits for your company. Fame, fortune. If you think my offer is unfair, we can do 60-40. I said. Jessica's voice was ice. Get out. She paused, her gaze like daggers. Do I need to repeat myself? The disgust in her eyes was palpable, undisguised. The dream was real. This man, with his polished exterior, was rotten to the core. Unforgivable. Leo stood there, dumbfounded, before his face darkened with rage. He stalked to the desk and snatched back his journal and box. Ms. Young, I hope you don't live to regret this day. He was the Dragon King, a god among men. He would not be humiliated. He'd had enough of groveling as Seraphina's bodyguard. He swore he would never suffer such an insult again. As Leo stormed out of the office, Jessica let out a cold, humorless laugh. Down in the parking garage, Manny was dozing in the driver's seat when a sharp rap on the window startled him awake. Tap, tap. Seeing it was Leo, Manny tried to replicate that charming smirk he'd seen earlier. Dragon King, you're back. What the hell are you smiling at? Leo roared, yanking the door open. Are you mocking me too? Seeing that pathetic attempt at a smile sent a fresh wave of fury through him. He was in a foul mood. Couldn't this idiot read the room? No, boss. I swear my loyalty is absolute. Manny stammered, his smile vanishing. It was obvious the deal had gone south. Leo slumped into the passenger seat. Sensing his boss's black mood, Manny asked cautiously, Boss, I know a few high-end places. To blow off some steam. If you want, I can take you there now, or... What are you waiting for? Leo snapped, his face a thundercloud. Drive. He needed to vent. Manny nodded frantically, his heart pounding. Yes, sir. Right away. The Escalade's engine roared to life, peeling out of the garage and speeding toward the city's more indulgent pleasures. In the CEO's office at Vance Corporation, Asher lay face down on the sofa while Jasmine Jiang worked the knots out of his shoulders. Wow, you've really leveled up, Jasmine. Been practicing on the side? Her hands were magical, the pressure just right. He let out an involuntary groan of pleasure. It wasn't that his willpower was weak. Her technique was just that good. I picked up a few things from friend. I'm glad you like it, Mr. Vance, Jasmine said, giggling as she redoubled her efforts. Asher yawned. Anything major happened at the company the last few days? He asked lazily. He was still holding out a sliver of hope that Cassandra Lee, his hand-picked saboteur, would finally do her job and cause some real damage. Jasmine thought for a moment. I don't think so. Oh, wait. This morning, some people from the Zhou family came by. I think it was Ms. Zhou's uncle. They went into her office and had a huge argument, and then they took her with them back to the family estate. It happened behind closed doors, so I don't know the details, but I overheard some of the managers saying she was accused of misappropriating a massive amount of corporate funds without the family's approval. Asher's brow furrowed. The she-devil is really bankrupt? Why else would she touch company money? It didn't make sense. The woman was a walking ATM. This had to be a mistake. He felt a pang of something. He debated whether he should get involved. After a moment's hesitation, he knew he had to go see for himself. He sat up abruptly, forgetting Jasmine was leaning over him. A comical collision ensued as his head met her chest. Her professional blouse was strategically unbuttoned at the top, not for show, but because fastening it would have been a genuine occupational hazard. Oh, Jasmine squeaked, her face flushing a deep red as she let out a sound that could easily be misinterpreted. She pouted. Mr. Vance, a little warning next time? Huh, sorry, I forgot, Asher said with a sheepish grin. I've got to run out for a bit. Jasmine tilted her head, then her eyes lit up with understanding. He was going to help Scarlett. In her opinion, those two were the perfect match. Serafina Hayes wasn't even worthy of carrying Scarlett's shoes. Mr. Vance, the manager said they were taking her back to the main family estate. Got it. And hey, Asher paused at the door, glancing back at his secretary, who was still blushing. Jasmine, you've been getting awfully cheeky lately. You still want that bonus? Jasmine wasn't one of the novel's heroines, so Asher felt he could be more relaxed and playful around her. She let out a soft huff, giving a little shimmy that showcased her impressive assets. Keep your bonus, she purred, her tone dripping with playful challenge. If you're so tough, why don't you just take it? Whoa, is she staging a coup? A moment later, a series of sharp smacks echoed through the office. Asher had given her a playful swat, but her verbal taunts only seemed to egg her on. He gave her a few more for good measure, which only seemed to excite her further. Finally, he gave up. He had more important things to deal with. As he left the Vance Corporation tower, he muttered to himself, Geez, does Jasmine have some weird kinks? Who the hell knows? He shook his head. And what's the she-devil's problem? If she needed money, why didn't she just ask me? What else do I have besides money? He pulled on his custom $20,000 motorcycle helmet, fired up the engine, and twisted the throttle. The bike screamed as he sped off toward the Zhou family estate. Meanwhile, at the estate, the clan had gathered. Aunts, uncles, cousins, relatives who rarely saw each other were all assembled in the grand living room. Seated in the main chair was a man in his 80s, the family patriarch. Scarlett, using company funds for personal reasons. That's a serious breach of trust, said a man in his late 50s. It was Scarlett's second uncle, Ronald Zhou. He'd been looking for an opportunity to unseat his older brother, Richard, and seize control of the family business. With the old man's health failing, the time to strike was now. The Zhou family tree was far more complex than the Vances. Simply put, the Zhous were prolific. What did you even do with the money? A shrill voice piped up. Scarlett, honey, it's not that we don't trust you. But if you're making investments, you need to discuss it with the family. Over $1 billion in liquid capital is not a small sum. The aunt's tone was thick with false concern. When there's blood in the water, the sharks start a circle. Scarlett was a brilliant operator, but she had crossed a line, threatening the financial interests of the entire family. Her talent meant nothing now. She had to be punished. Richard Joe stood in front of his daughter, a look of pained apology on his face. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I failed to cover for you. It's okay, Dad. You did your best, didn't you?" Scarlett offered him a reassuring smile, though her lips were pressed into a thin line. Oddly, a part of her was glad this was happening. It proved that not everyone in the Joe family was a useless freeloader. The room buzzed with accusations, all aimed at her. It felt like the 6 major sects besieging Brightness Peak. "Enough. I'm not dead yet." Grandfather Charles Joe's eyes snapped open, and his sharp rebuke silenced the room instantly. He turned his gaze to his favorite and most capable granddaughter. "Scarlett, I know you must have your reasons, but this is a serious matter. You owe this family an explanation." Everyone knew that Asher Vance was in love with Serafina Hayes, not Scarlett Joe. Their engagement was on shaky ground. If Scarlett were already married to Asher, with the formidable Vance family backing her, none of them would dare to say a word. But she wasn't. The pressure was immense. If she couldn't give them a satisfactory answer today, they would tear her apart. Scarlett's face was a mask of weary resignation. She took a deep breath, preparing to concede. "All right, but grandfather, I will only explain this to you, and you alone." Before the old man could respond, a chorus of dissent erupted. "What do you mean, Scarlett? Don't your aunts and uncles deserve to know where our money went?" "What is that supposed to mean, Scarlett? That the rest of us don't have a right to know where the money went?" an aunt demanded, her voice dripping with acid. The hall erupted once more. "Your fourth aunt is right. Why should we be kept in the dark? Are you trying to privately beg grandfather to let you off the hook? Forget it. That's not happening. Dad, you can't keep spoiling her. She's your precious granddaughter, but we're your sons and daughters-in-law, too." Richard hid this from all of us, secretly transferring our family's capital. That was a betrayal. Grandpa, Uncle Richard treated us like outsiders. If he'd just given us a heads up, we wouldn't have cared if he took the money. The accusations flew from all corners, a chaotic cacophony of greed and resentment, all aimed squarely at Scarlett and her father. Grandfather Joe was caught in the middle, his face etched with turmoil. Finally, he took a deep breath and slammed the end of his cane on the floor. Thump, thump. When the room fell silent, he spoke. "Scarlett, you see the situation. If you use the money for a legitimate investment, your uncles and aunts won't have any complaints. Just let them know which stocks you bought, so they can have some peace of mind." The old man was tired. He had long since stepped away from the business world. All he wanted was to keep the peace, to see his family united. "Your father's right," Ronald's wife muttered just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Buying a few stocks and being so secretive about it. I bet you were afraid we'd invest, too, and cut into your profits, weren't you?" Though no one else spoke, the sentiment hung heavy in the air. Family doesn't deceive family. Good fortune should be shared. Scarlett felt a sharp pain in her chest, as if a knife were twisting in her heart. She had been trying to help the Vance family, while also securing a massive windfall for her own. A windfall of historic proportions. The full $30 billion fund she had leveraged was a joint pool. The Joe family had a stake in it. This single move would have been enough to cement their position as the undisputed leader of the four great families. She, a king, was trying to carry a team of scrubs to victory. But now she saw it all clearly. Family, loyalty, it was all a joke. Outside of her parents, and perhaps her grandfather, these relatives were nothing but a pack of ungrateful wolves. Give them an inch, and they try to take the whole damn mile. Despite the immense pressure, Scarlett remained silent. If she revealed the truth now, the news would leak, causing a catastrophic domino effect with unforeseen consequences. Seeing her defiant silence, Ronald Joe's eyes narrowed, his voice laced with menace. "Scarlett, it's come to this. Just tell us what happened. Otherwise, your father, your mother, and you could all be facing prison time." From his perspective, her stubbornness was a gift. A sum this large couldn't just vanish. Even the world's best hacker couldn't erase all the tracks. "Uncle Ronald, my parents have nothing to do with this." Scarlett's face went cold. "If someone has to go to jail, if someone has to face the legal consequences, it will be me. I'll take full responsibility. Leave my parents out of it." Ronald shrugged. "Tell that to the judge." "Ronald, after decades as brothers, are you really going to be this cruel?" Richard Joe finally cried out, unable to bear it any longer. "Big brother, You make me laugh, Ronald sneered. Go ahead, ask our other brothers and sisters. They're all thinking the same thing. I'm just the only one with the guts to say it out loud. Just then, a young man in a black suit hurried into the room, holding a laptop. Sir, I found the destination of the funds. Ronald's face lit up. Quickly, where did the money go? The young man turned the laptop screen toward the crowd. The last trace shows the entire sum was transferred into a Vance Corporation account. A collective gasp went through the room. They were stunned into silence. She wasn't even married yet, and she was already funneling her family's money to her in-laws. Was there any justice in the world? Richard and his wife looked at each other, completely bewildered. Ag, this is the end of me. Ronald's wife suddenly shrieked, squeezing out a few crocodile tears. I worked my fingers to the bone, and for what? To see my money used as some hussy's dowry? Give me back my hard-earned cash. A woman's greatest weapons, tears and hysterics. She had deployed both. With the lead actress setting the tempo, the scene exploded. Scarlett, I hate to say it, but you've gone too far this time, and Anne chimed in. That Asher Vance doesn't even like you. He's in love with Serafina Hayes. Don't you have any self-awareness? Exactly. We don't even know if this wedding is going to happen, and you're already sending them our money? What are you thinking? Don't think you can do whatever you want just because your father and grandfather protect you. You have 3 days to get that money back, or you could spend the rest of your life in a prison cell. The voices belonged to Ronald's faction, but it didn't matter anymore. This had touched everyone's bottom line. The neutral parties quickly began choosing sides. In the entire sprawling Zhou family, only a handful of people remained silent, refusing to join the chorus of condemnation. Scarlett felt her heart shatter. The pain was immense, but the cruel words of her so-called family cut even deeper, chilling her to the bone. Under her leadership, the Zhou family business had nearly doubled in size, a testament to her sweat and blood. But they chose to see none of it. She scanned the room, silently memorizing the faces of those few who had not turned on her. A few weeks in jail? She could handle it. But her parents? A wave of helplessness washed over her. They were her only weakness. For a fleeting moment, an image of Asher Vance flashed in her mind. Just as quickly, she pushed it away. The thing that tortures you most is never someone's cruelty, but your own hopeful expectations. No way. Are you actually broke? A lazy, playful voice cut through the tension. At the sound of the voice, every head in the Zhou family hall swiveled toward the entrance. When Scarlett saw who it was, she froze, and then an indescribable wave of joy washed over her. He didn't have to come, but he did. Ignoring the cacophony around them, she took a step forward, her beautiful, almond-shaped eyes fixed on Asher. She wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered playfully in his ear, her lips brushing against his skin. I am. Didn't I tell you I was going broke? You heartless man. You weren't even paying attention. Holy crap. You weren't kidding. Who would have thought you were telling the truth? Ding. Congratulations, host. You have gained +1 personal stamina. Asher had no idea how to respond, so he just stood there and let the she-devil use him as a prop. And he had to admit her assets were all natural. The soft, supple feeling was worlds apart from the factory-made enhancements so common in their circle. The entire Zhou family, including Scarlett's own parents, stared in disbelief. This was not the Asher Vance from the rumors, the one who supposedly despised his fiancée. The intel was wrong. Had they misread the entire situation? Ronald Zhou's brow furrowed. He was on the verge of a coup, about to seize control of the family's future, and he wasn't about to let it slip back into Richard's hands. That billion-dollar fund was important, but for Ronald and his faction, it was just an excuse, a lever to pry power away from his brother. Mr. Vance, Ronald began, his smile sharp as a knife. We'd like to ask you something. Did you know Scarlett transferred Zhou family funds to Vance Corporation? And do you know what for? Judging by Asher's expression, he was out of the loop. Ronald knew he couldn't let them speak in private. His question was the one on everyone's mind. The room held its breath. Dozens of pairs of eyes were locked on him. Asher felt it was probably inappropriate to continue being used as a human pillow, and reluctantly, he gently disentangled himself from Scarlett. Huh, the she-devil is so broke she had to dip into the family coffers? No wonder she was living in that remote apartment complex last time. You're asking me? How should I know? I'm not the one managing the money. You're asking the wrong guy. Wait a minute. Did she use it to invest in oil? Suddenly, it all clicked into place. He wasn't thinking about bonds. He was thinking about futures. Of course, she had come to his office once to ask his opinion. That must have been when she made her decision. Oh my God, who wouldn't love a wife like this? Buying oil futures was the perfect move. The price of crude was about to collapse. The money Scarlett poured in, not just the Joe's but the Vance's share too, would be wiped out completely. All he'd have to do later was secretly transfer the Vance family's money back to Scarlett. His own family would suffer a double, maybe even triple loss. It was the ultimate nerf. With the Vance Corporation hemorrhaging cash, Cassandra Lee and her sister could team up with Leo Flynn for a pincer attack. The Vance dynasty would be finished. It was beautiful. Haha. Of course, I know all about it. Asher boomed with a cheerful laugh. He was happier losing money than making it. Scarlett's face turned bright red as she struggled to suppress a smile. She shot him a playfully murderous glare. Ronald's face lit up. "Could you enlighten us?" he pressed, though his tone was now much more respectful. If the money was truly gone, swallowed by the Vances, then Richard's position in the family would be shattered. It was an investment, Asher announced proudly. The Vance family put in a substantial amount as well. He couldn't be happier. The she-devil was the perfect wife. He'd have to treat her to a nice dinner tonight to celebrate. At this point, Asher was only assuming she'd taken a few $100 million of the Joe's liquid capital, maybe $500 or $600 million at most. The thought of over $1 billion hadn't even crossed his mind. But even a loss of that magnitude was a flesh wound the Vance family could afford. The room let out a collective sigh of relief. It was just as Scarlett had claimed. The money was being used for a legitimate business venture. And hearing that the Vances had invested too, the voices of dissent vanished into thin air. This was a trade secret, a bona fide, high-level trade secret. By pressing Scarlett for details, they were, family ties aside, on the verge of breaking the law. If the Vance Corporation's legal team got involved, they would be the ones facing jail time. In an instant, the entire room went silent. The uncles and aunts who had been so vocal in their condemnation of Scarlett were now filled with regret. "Scarlett, dear, your fourth aunt was out of line earlier. Please forgive me. Scarlett, I wasn't thinking straight. I hope you can overlook my foolish words. Sometimes an old man's mind plays tricks on him, Scarlett. You won't hold it against your third uncle, will you?" Like reeds in the wind, they bent to the new reality. Only a fool would continue to side with Ronald now. Heroes aren't judged by their origins, and scoundrels aren't judged by their age. Seeing that Scarlett didn't seem interested in holding a grudge, some of the more thick-skinned relatives took their chance. "Scarlett, which futures are you looking at lately?" asked a man named Paul Joe, Scarlett's sixth uncle. "I'm a bit short on cash, some bad stock trades. I'd love to make a little back. I'll even sign an NDA right here in front of you." A younger cousin saw his opening and jumped in. "Uncle Paul, that's not fair. You need money, but what about the rest of us?" "Scarlett, I'll sign one too. Let me in on it." Paul's eyes bulged, his face turning red. "You brat, if you need money, ask your father. This is adult business. Don't get involved." He looked like he was about to explode, terrified that Scarlett would refuse if too many people asked. In a matter of moments, the room devolved into a chaotic squabble over money. Asher's eye twitched. Are the Joes all brain dead? They were fighting over a losing business deal. You people are really something else. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have gained +1 personal charm. Thump, thump, thump. Grandfather Joe slammed his cane on the floor again. "We have a guest present. Have you no shame?" Only then did they seem to remember Asher was still there. The bickering instantly ceased, replaced by an atmosphere of almost comical friendliness. One aunt even rushed to bring Asher a chair. These shameless relatives, the same ones who had just been demanding an explanation, had a new angle. Sure, the official investment would yield a return for the family, but their individual shares would be small. This was a chance for a personal windfall. It wasn't shameful to ask for a tip from family, was it? "I did invest in several futures," Scarlett said suddenly, her tone shifting. "I suppose I can tell you about one of them." The room went silent, everyone staring at her in disbelief. A trade secret. She was actually going to share a trade secret, many of them flushed with shame. Scarlett's grace and generosity stood in stark contrast to their earlier selfish, aggressive behavior. The comparison was painful. Asher shot her a surprised look. Feeling his gaze, Scarlett's lips curved into a mesmerizing smile. "Hiss!" Asher sucked in a breath. There was something unsettling about that smile. It was beautiful, yes, but it felt dangerous, like she was about to fleece them all. "Scarlett, I was just joking," Uncle Paul said quickly, though his eyes burned with anticipation. The room filled with a chorus of wheedling voices, all spouting pretty words. The gist was, "Scarlett, the market is a dangerous place for a young woman like you. Since you can't possibly manage all that profit yourself, why not share it with family? Keep the wealth within the Joes." Even Ronald Joe hadn't left in a huff. He, too, was intensely curious about where the money had gone. Who would say no to free cash? I can only say there's a high probability of profit. I can't guarantee it 100%, Scarlett said, feigning helplessness. Think carefully before you commit. This only made them more desperate. That's fine. A high probability is good enough. Your Uncle Paul won't blame you if it doesn't pan out, he said, beaming. The others echoed his sentiment. Still, Scarlett shook her head, pretending to be worried. They had a track record, after all. Finally, at Uncle Paul's suggestion, the Zhou family's legal team was summoned. Soon, ironclad confidentiality and liability waivers were printed out. The relatives scrambled to sign them, legally binding themselves to take full responsibility for any potential losses. They glanced at Asher, the representative of the Vance family, who stood by without a word. To them, his silence was a clear endorsement. He was letting them in on the deal. Even the shameless Ronald Zhou signed a waiver. During the commotion, Richard Zhou quietly tried to persuade his daughter to drop the legal formalities, but this time, Scarlett refused. She had seen their true colors. All right, uncles and aunts, Scarlett said, gathering the stack of signed agreements. I will tell you about one of the futures. Whether you choose to buy is entirely up to you. The tension in the room was electric. The Vances were in on this. They'd be fools not to invest. Under their expectant gazes, Scarlett finally spoke. It's a future you're all familiar with. Crude oil. Every major family had heard the rumors that oil prices were about to rise. But they were all hesitating, waiting for someone else to test the waters first. Scarlett's words were the final push they needed. It was a sign from the heavens. This was a guaranteed win. Mom, Dad, I'm heading back to the office, Scarlett said with a smile. Her parents looked at Asher, a sense of deep gratitude and indebtedness on their faces. They wanted to say something, but couldn't find the words. Asher saw their discomfort. It's just money. For my family, it's nothing. This put them at ease. They chatted for a few more minutes, during which Asher was dying of secondhand embarrassment. These Zhou relatives were ecstatic, some already on their phones, discreetly telling their brokers to buy crude oil futures. You idiots, Asher screamed internally. It's the bonds. You short the bonds to make money. You're all going to lose everything. He had to hand it to the she-devil. She was devious and brilliant. With those signed waivers in hand, she was completely in the clear. Any losses they suffered were their own damn fault. In the courtyard of the Zhou family estate, Scarlett and Asher stood by his motorcycle. You helped me out of a huge jam back there, Scarlett said, a dimple appearing in her cheek. How should I reward you? Is this really happening? A man of his word doesn't lie. Asher took a deep breath, fighting the urge to say yes. I didn't help you. I came here to ask Dr. Julian Zhou to do my father's regular checkups. Helping you was just a coincidence. Do you like candy? She asked, winking playfully. The question caught him completely off guard. Asher shook his head. Well, my kid, I don't like candy. It's not for you to eat, she said, her voice laced with meaning. What the hell? If it's not for me, why ask me if I like it? Don't tell me. You're the one who's going to eat it. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have received plus $666. I'm not interested in your candy. You can have it, Asher said, reaching for his helmet, ready to make a quick getaway. The she-devil was definitely up to something. I'm talking about the kind of candy adults eat, Scarlett added, a faint blush dusting her cheeks. Asher's hand froze. He stood there stunned. She-devil, that is a very dangerous thought. Ahem. You keep it for yourself, he stammered. But Scarlett wasn't about to let him go. How did you know I was the one who was going to eat it? She purred, her tone impossibly seductive as she shot him a knowing look. Asher, for his part, pretended he had no idea what she was talking about. Nobody had ever taught him these things. Give me a ride? Scarlett changed the subject with a smile. I didn't drive here. This back seat wasn't for her. It was reserved for the real, fake, female lead, Serafina Hayes. Asher was prepared for this. He held up his helmet. Sorry, only got one. First the Balenciaga, now this candy business. It was too much. He was going to fall for her, and he still had a plot to follow. Any sugar-coated bullets that got in his way had to be dodged. Scarlett frowned, unwilling to let him slip away so easily. Just as she was trying to think of another plan, a soft voice called out. Cousin-in-law, looks like you're short a helmet. You can borrow mine if you want. Scarlett turned to see her younger cousin, Cynthia Zhou. Cynthia's family was one of the few that hadn't turned on Scarlett. She was a motorcycle enthusiast herself and had ridden her own bike to the estate. I'm not your cousin-in-law, Asher protested. Hey kid, don't just say things like that. You're making things very difficult for me. Don't block my path to following the plot. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have received +1 high-grade skincare formula. Huh. What's the dog system playing at? His family was in finance, not cosmetics. What was he supposed to do with a skincare formula? Besides, he wanted to lose money, not make it. Cynthia, your cousin-in-law is just a bit shy. Don't mind him, Scarlett said with a grin. She took the helmet from a bewildered Cynthia and thanked her. After a brief chat, Cynthia left. Now, may I get on your motorcycle? Scarlett asked, holding up the helmet. A man had to be responsible for his words. Defeated, Asher patted the seat behind him. Fine, get on. She put on the helmet, fumbling with it for a moment. Asher couldn't help but chuckle. Your head's pretty big. Inside the helmet, Scarlett blushed. But she wasn't one to lose a battle of wits. Yours isn't so small either. Asher choked. Okay, better just keep his mouth shut. Finally, Scarlett was ready. She swung one long, pale leg over the bike, then used her arms to hoist herself up. As soon as she was settled, and before Asher could say a word, she wrapped her arms tightly around his waist. Whoa, I haven't even started it yet. You don't have to hold on that tight. The pain. Her impressive chest was pressed firmly against his back. He could feel its warmth and softness. Scarlett found the whole situation amusing. This little wolf always pretended to be reluctant after getting exactly what he wanted. I'm afraid you'll go too fast, and I'll fly off. Then who would I cry to? Relax, I'll drive slow. Asher offered generously. I don't believe a word you say, she said with a giggle, tightening her grip. From a distance, Cynthia watched with an envious smile. So this is what love looks like. Asher couldn't take it anymore. He twisted the throttle. Vroom! The Ducati's signature roar echoed through the courtyard as the crimson bike shot forward. Fine, hold on then. I've got nothing to live for anyway. The sudden acceleration pressed Scarlett even tighter against him, and a small scream escaped her lips. Her heart was hammering against his back, a frantic, exhilarating rhythm he could feel through his jacket. Asher, this is amazing. It feels like flying. Faster. Asher's eye twitched. He was reluctant, but even he had to admit. She smelled incredible. Downstairs, in front of the Vance Corporation Tower, Scarlett was still thinking. Asher, how many packets are in a box of Pop Rocks? She asked, her voice a low, suggestive murmur. How the hell should I know? I've never bought them. No idea, Asher replied without thinking. Go buy a box and find out. Good point, Scarlett said, nodding seriously. Asher was surprised. You like that stuff? It's not for me. It's for you. She stared at him, her words heavy with implication. He was completely lost. I really don't like candy. We'll see about that, Scarlett said with a shrug, her face flushing slightly. Maybe the other you will. At that moment, something clicked. Asher wasn't a complete idiot. Oh, hell yes. You said it, not me. $1. That's not nearly enough. Don't starve the kid. 2 words, 1 case. Actually, is 1 case going to be enough? Asher sucked in a sharp breath, his mind already racing. The she-devil knew men too well. What more can a man ask for? Ugh, get a grip. Don't let her derail the plot. Asher was going crazy. With a whole case of that to look forward to, how could he possibly focus on his mission? Scarlett's face was now a deep crimson. She shot him an exasperated look. A whole case? Does he want his jaw to get dislocated? This little wolf really has no limits. They walked back into the lobby. Are you free for lunch? Scarlett asked. My treat. Nope. Asher refused immediately. That was a meal he knew would come with strings attached. Oh, well, I'm heading back then. Scarlett didn't press the issue. She had things to take care of. With a few sharp clicks of her heels, she was gone. Asher rubbed his nose. Maybe her whole candy offer was just a joke. He shrugged it off and headed up to his office. Jasmine and Cassandra were nowhere to be found. Jasmine was probably busy with work, and Cassandra was likely out shopping with Chloe. He'd heard them making plans that morning. He sank into his large executive chair. A cold, mechanical voice, one he hadn't heard in a long time, echoed in his mind. Host must retrieve the item stored in the system space within 24 hours. Failure to do so will result in automatic distribution of the item. Asher's face soured. You damn system. You finally decide to show up? He mentally shouted. Don't you dare play dead with me. Look what a mess the plot is in. Am I even supposed to follow it anymore? You owe me an explanation. Right now? Hey, are you there? No matter how much he yelled, the system remained silent, as if it had crashed. Great. The damn system had decided to just give up. Fine, Asher muttered. 24 hours of free storage. I guess you have some conscience left. Otherwise, if a blueprint or something else just popped into existence on my desk, I'd have a hard time explaining it. He took a deep breath. Retrieved the skincare formula. In an instant, an old, rolled-up piece of parchment appeared in his hand. He unrolled it curiously. What the hell? What is this even? Volcanic clay whitening formula? Sounds like a cheap gimmick. The system is learning how to pull a bait and switch. It was completely outside his field of expertise. With a look of disgust, Asher tossed the parchment onto his desk like a piece of trash. His mind began to wander. Who did he know in the beauty industry? After filtering through a few names, only one remained, Jessica Young. It was perfect. If he gave the formula to anyone else, they'd insist on giving him a cut of the profits. No matter how much he refused, they'd find a way to repay him, desperate to curry favor with the Vance family. Money was just a number. Power and connections were the real currency. Wait, isn't the protagonist, Leo, also trying to partner with her using a formula? Asher mused. If I send her this one, won't that just make her stronger? She and Leo might even team up by now. I'd be using my resources to empower the male and female leads, making it easier for them to take me down. Asher's eyes lit up. The system hadn't abandoned him after all. This volcanic clay formula was a way to buff the heroine, to make her powerful enough alongside the hero to finally destroy him. It was brilliant. He had misjudged the system. The formula was explicitly labeled high grade. It had to be at least as good as, if not better than, the one Leo Flynn was peddling. He vaguely remembered that Leo had made a fortune off that stupid scroll, giving him the financial foundation to challenge the Vance family later on. He looked at the parchment on his desk with newfound respect, a wide grin spreading across his face. The heavens are on my side. It was his duty as the villain to help every heroine achieve her dreams. Besides, Jessica Young was a childhood friend. This would make her a titan of the cosmetics industry, and then she could use all that money to come after his family. The thought made him so excited he almost started drooling. He immediately pulled out his phone and ordered courier. Why not use a company messenger? Please. The villain and the heroine can't coexist. It was kill or be killed. Why would he show her that much respect? A random courier was perfectly dismissive. He couldn't have her thinking he still had feelings for her. With that taken care of, Asher felt a great sense of relief. He booted up his computer, launched Steam, and settled in for a relaxing afternoon of gaming. Meanwhile, in the Young Corporation Tower, Jessica Young let out a lazy yawn. As long as she chose to alter the events of her dream, the future where Asher died would cease to exist. Losing a multi-billion-dollar partnership was a small price to pay. She had no regrets. Knock, knock, knock. Come in, she said, her voice still thick with sleep. Her secretary, Emily, entered holding a worn piece of rolled-up parchment. What is it? Jessica asked, not bothering to open her eyes. She had been working too hard lately. Ms. Young, a courier just delivered this for you. At those words, Jessica was instantly wide awake. A cold fury washed over her as she realized what it must be. I don't want it, she snapped. Send it back. If you can't, then throw it out. I don't want that trash dirtying my office. That Leo Flynn was such a scoundrel. Even after she'd rejected him, he had the audacity to send the formula over anyway. Did he think the Young Corporation was a garbage dump? Emily stood there, stunned. Is Ms. Young going through early menopause? But an order was an order. She turned to leave, clutching the parchment and muttering under her breath. Next time something comes from Vance Corporation, I'll just throw it out. Her voice was quiet, but in her heightened state, Jessica heard every word. Wait, she commanded. The single word made Emily jump. Why, yes, Ms. Young? Is there anything else? What did you just say? Jessica's tone was severe. Emily's face went pale. I asked if there was anything else. Not that. What you were just muttering. To throw it all out. Before that, the thing for Vance Corporation. Jessica's eyebrows knitted together. She beckoned with a slender finger. Bring it here. Emily scurried over and respectfully placed the parchment on the desk. Have you looked at this? Jessica asked. Emily shook her head so vigorously it looked like it might fall off. No, ma'am. I ran into the courier on my way in. I assumed it was important, so I brought it straight here without delay. A flicker of anticipation sparked in Jessica's chest. She feigned nonchalance. Did you ask the courier who from Vance Corporation sent it? Yes, I did, Emily replied dutifully. A faint blush crept up Jessica's neck, tinting her elegant features. Her heart began to pound. Was it Asher Vance? Yes, I mean no. Emily corrected herself instantly. Jessica glared at her, her displeasure obvious. Well, was it or wasn't it? It wasn't, Emily said, looking like she was about to cry. Ms. Young, I asked the courier, but he just said he picked it up from the front desk at Vance Corp. The name and contact number on the delivery form were just listed as the main reception. Oh, an unexpected wave of disappointment washed over Jessica. She let out a long breath and waved her hand. I see. You can go now. Yes, ma'am. Emily fled the office, grateful to have escaped without being reprimanded for her slip-up. Alone now, Jessica untied the string binding the parchment. The paper was different from Leo Flynn's. Older, more authentic. She casually glanced at the contents, and in an instant, her eyes flew wide open. Her gaze shot to the title, Volcanic Clay Whitening Formula. Her expression grew serious, and her hand trembled as she held the document. She devoured the detailed list of ingredients and instructions. After a long while, she finally looked up, her hand still clutching the parchment. As an industry expert, she understood the technical terms at a glance. This formula wasn't just valuable, it was a revolution. Its potential worth dwarfed the one Leo Flynn had brought her that morning. Furthermore, the raw materials were 3 times cheaper and far more accessible. But the most incredible part was its efficacy. According to the text, it was an all-in-one solution for acne, dark spots, and whitening, suitable for all skin types, oily, dry, in combination. Using the process of elimination, she couldn't think of a single person at Vance Corporation, other than Asher himself, who would be foolish enough to gift the Yang family, a free, multi-billion-dollar ticket to global domination. Her eyes drifted to the calendar on her desk, and a soft, beautiful smile bloomed on her face. 15 years, Ash. You really know how to play the long game. I guess this makes up for 15 missed gifts. But still, I wish you had given it to me in person. In a few days, it would be her birthday. What else could this be but a present? After they graduated from elementary school, they had drifted apart, eventually becoming strangers. Every time she saw him with another girl, it felt like a knife in her heart. She had wanted to rush over, to chase those vixens away and declare to the world that Asher Vance belonged to her. But she couldn't. The weight of the Yang family rested on her shoulders. Her sister, Catherine, had no interest in business, preferring to chase criminals and uphold her own brand of justice. It was all on Jessica. The word choice had become a luxury she couldn't afford. So she had waited, content to watch from the sidelines, willing to wait forever. Even if he married and had children with someone else, she would wait. You're the one who started this again, she whispered to the empty room. This time, I won't just stand by and watch. Clutching the parchment, Jessica strode out of her office and headed directly for the R&D department, the determined click of her heels echoing a new, powerful rhythm. That night, at a high-end restaurant in Manhattan. Mr. Flynn, you are a man of true vision and generosity, gushed a portly, middle-aged man, his face flushed with sycophancy. On behalf of the entire Blue family, I thank you. To you. His name was Landon Blue, the head of a second-tier family that, like the Yangs, was in the cosmetics business. While the Yangs dominated the premium market, Blue Cosmetics had carved out a lucrative niche as the king of the mid-range domestic brands. Cheers! Leo Flynn laughed, raising his glass. The clinking of crystal filled the private room. He savored the flattery. How quickly can your family get the first batch of product to market? He asked, his eyes narrowing. Landon smiled. Are you in need of cash, Mr. Flynn? We can offer you in advance. It's not about the money. Leo waved a dismissive hand. That which Jessica Yang, acting so high and mighty. If she didn't want to do business with him, plenty of others did. The line of people eager to partner with the Dragon King stretched from here to Paris. He had gone to her first, offering her an exclusive formula he'd stolen from his own master, only to be offered a pittance and treated with contempt. He wasn't some pushover. He would make Jessica Yang pay by launching a blockbuster product that would leave her in the dust. Landon's expression grew serious. He thought for a moment. A week. Launching a new product in 7 days was a monumental task. They had the formula, but they needed to tool up the factory's secure ad buys with celebrities and get it through regulatory approval. A week was practically a miracle. Too slow, Leo said, shaking his head. Landon wanted to scream. Too slow. He's only giving us a 20% cut, and he's treating us like dogs. Manny, Leo called. Sir, have a Marcos family lend a hand. Mobilize all available liquid capital and use every resource at your disposal to support Blue Cosmetics. Yes, sir, Manny replied without hesitation. Landon swallowed hard, his beady eyes darting between them. Mr. Marcos, how much capital can your family provide? Just a ballpark figure so I can revise my timeline. Manny held up 2 fingers. 200 million. Money talked. With that kind of cash injection, plus the full backing of the Marcos family, things changed dramatically. How many days? Leo asked. Landon held up 4 fingers. Seeing Leo's brow begin to furrow, he quickly tucked one away. 3. 3 days. We can do it in 3. Leo finally nodded, satisfied. That 200 million is a separate investment, an equity stake. It's not my money, after all. Landon smiled on the outside, but cursed him internally. Of course. We'll return the 200 million with interest once the profits start rolling in. And naturally, You'll both receive your share. This was his chance to break into the top tier of the market. Helping Leo was helping himself. Even if Leo was taking the lion's share, Landon didn't care. If it meant he could finally go toe-to-toe with the Yangs, it was worth it. Manny, you heard Mr. Blue, Leo said with a triumphant grin. Manny nodded. Leo raised his glass. Then I propose a toast to our future success. With your blessing, Mr. Flynn, it's a guaranteed victory. Landon crowed. The three men drank, their ambitions soaring. Across town, the lights were still on in the R&D department of the Yang Corporation Tower. Ms. Yang, let me test it, a female researcher said, her voice trembling with excitement. Every eye in the lab was fixed on a small container of a dark, viscous cream. It didn't look like much, but it gave off a faint, pleasant fragrance. This was the result of their entire afternoon's work, the volcanic clay formula. The formulation itself had been simple to replicate from the parchment, but the safety testing had taken hours. Only after they had confirmed, repeatedly, that the product contained 0 harmful substances did Jessica give them the go-ahead. Proceed, she said. The researcher carefully removed her light makeup, revealing a few small pimples on her forehead and some minor blemishes. Nearly every skincare product on the market, including their own, caused some level of skin damage. But this formula was perfect. The only question was, did it work? Under the watchful eyes of her colleagues, the researcher applied the volcanic clay to her face. It felt cool and soothing, like a very mild version of an herbal balm. 15 minutes later, as instructed, she rinsed it off. The results were miraculous. Her face was transformed. The pimples were gone. Not just reduced, but completely vanished, without a trace of redness or scarring. The blemishes had disappeared. Her skin was visibly brighter, smoother, and more radiant. The effect was astonishingly good. Someone started clapping, and soon the entire lab erupted in thunderous applause and jubilant cheers. To develop a product of this quality was a lifelong dream for every one of them. And now it had happened. Jessica stood there, her mouth agape, feeling like she was in a dream. The gift Asher had sent her. It was too big. It's huge. A few minutes later, Jessica Yang's face was flushed crimson as she issued a sharp command. I want that patent filed tonight. No exceptions. Yes, ma'am, the head of legal affairs replied, a broad smile on his face. Everyone involved in formulating the volcanic clay formula that evening signed a cast-iron non-disclosure agreement. As for the next steps, Jessica already had a rough plan taking shape in her mind. Back at the Yang estate, she bypassed dinner completely and went straight for a long, hot shower. In a corner of her room, she located a small wooden chest shrouded in a thick layer of dust. It had clearly been sitting there for a very long time. After wiping it clean with a cloth, she opened the lid. Inside, a collection of simple, unassuming trinkets lay in stark contrast to the ornate, magnificent chest that held them. A faded doll, a ceramic piggy bank, a fluffy pink stuffed animal. 6 items in total. Altogether, they weren't worth more than $200, but to Jessica, they were priceless. No one would ever guess that the brilliant, commanding CEO of Yang Corporation would gaze upon a collection of childish toys with such a fond, unguarded smile. She looked at them for a long moment before her focus returned. She picked up her phone and called her secretary, Emily. The call connected almost instantly. Ms. Yang, how can I help you? My birthday is in 3 days. I want to do something big this year. Make it lavish. Send invitations to the younger generation of every family in New York. Anyone tier 3 or above, Jessica instructed. Also, book the A-list actress Lena in, and invite every socialite you can get your hands on. The more, the better. The venue will be the Bulgari Hotel. Set the preliminary budget at $10 million. Jessica's tone was perfectly level, as if she were discussing the weather. On the other end of the line, her secretary's mind went blank. Was this the same Jessica Yang she knew? In the 8 years Emily had worked for her, Jessica had never once asked her to plan a birthday party. She hated extravagant, noisy affairs. This was completely out of character. Ms. Yang, are you sure? Emily's uncertain voice crackled through the phone. Jessica smiled. I have my reasons. The birthday is secondary. The main event is the launch of a new skincare product I have. This party is the perfect marketing opportunity. Secondary or primary, it was all part of her plan. She was going to use this opportunity to invite every single woman connected to Asher Vance. She was declaring war on those vixens. If Serafina Hayes came, Asher would come. If Asher came, that scheming fiancé of his, Scarlett Jo, would definitely show up. As for Chloe Vance, she was Kate's childhood friend and had always called her Big Sister Jessica. Of course, she'd come to show her support. Chloe wasn't a threat at all. In fact, she was a potential super ally. Her future sister-in-law. Best to get on her good side early. Serafina was even less of a threat. The only real rival was Scarlet Jo. Right? Of course. I understand. Emily's eyes lit up. She knew her boss wasn't that superficial. Jessica proceeded to lay out the rest of her instructions. As the foremost of the four great families, the Yang's financial power and network were second to none. Manufacturing and packaging a new skincare line in 3 days was laughably easy. Jessica's strategy was simple: target the rich. She would drain the bank accounts of every socialite, heiress, and wealthy wife in the city. They were a massive, untapped goldmine. Men conquer the world to conquer women. Women do the exact opposite. And what woman didn't dream of eternal youth? Of course, the Yang Corporation would later release more affordable, mass-market versions. The raw materials were incredibly cheap. After all, quantity would eventually lead to a qualitative shift in the market. Hiring Lena would only cost a couple of million, and the socialites were essentially free advertising. The day of the party would be the day the volcanic clay formula became a sensation. Through word of mouth, it would go viral. After hanging up, Jessica stretched languidly, the elegant lines of her body shifting under her robe. I was here first, she thought, a smirk playing on her lips. Scarlet Jo, what do you possibly have that can compete with me? The things I can do for Ash. You can't even begin to imagine. The next morning, in the CEO's office at Vance Corporation, Asher Vance stared at the gilded invitation that had been delivered from Jessica Yang, lost in thought. After a long moment, a gasp escaped his lips. Holy shit, he exclaimed. It's finally Jessica's plot line. A devilish grin spread across his face. The invitation for the face-slapping event has arrived. Perfect. Asher cackled like he'd just discovered a hidden treasure. In his past life, when he attended that party, Jessica was already head over heels for the protagonist, Leo. They were constantly flaunting their romance in his face. So what if they were childhood friends? The protagonist and heroine had to show off, and he was just the villain, destined to get his face metaphorically slapped. The big brain, a.k.a. Dumb Blonde, Serafina Hayes had been there too, curious about Leo's new cosmetic line. And wherever the Dumb Blonde went, could the sycophantic villain be far behind? So, Asher had shown up to play his part as the dutiful simp. And, naturally, he'd been humiliated. A double whammy, really. First from the Dumb Blonde, and then from Jessica and her new beau. But this time, with his meddling, the humiliation was going to be so much more intense. Especially since he was the one who had given Jessica the real volcanic clay formula. The invitation even mentioned it by name. What was strange, though, was that he didn't see the name of the protagonist's product anywhere. Not that it mattered. It was probably being saved as the big, dramatic finale. Oh, Plot, my dear Plot, you haven't given up on me, and I won't give up on you. Asher cooed, clutching the invitation. We're in this together till death do us part. Just wait for my performance this time. I'm going for a perfect 100. He was so overcome with excitement that words failed him. He brought the thick cardstock to his lips and planted a few kisses on it. Mwah, mwah, 3. At that exact moment, the door swung open. Anya walked in, freezing as she caught him in the act of making out with the invitation. Asher's lecherous expression was on full display. The atmosphere turned to ice. Oh, excuse me, pervert, Anya said with a deadpan expression before turning around and closing the door. Hey, it's not what you think, Asher yelled, his honor on the line. Dragon Queen, you've got the wrong idea. If anyone's a pervert, it's you, who meets someone and immediately asks them to wash their underwear, and then suggests I use it? Even a ghost would nope out of that one. P.S. Maybe one more chapter tonight. Oh, intersection after intersection. Oh, haha, at Columbia University, inside a women's dormitory. Riley Song stared blankly at her phone. Ever since she'd announced she had arrived at Columbia in New York, the person behind the account claiming to be her brother had seemingly vanished off the face of the earth. No matter what messages she sent, she got no reply. The account was perpetually offline. If it weren't for their previous chat history, Riley would have assumed the man claiming to be her brother, Victor Stone, was an imposter. Hey, Riley baby, what are you so lost in thought about? A teasing voice chirped. It was her roommate, Maya. Thinking about Mr. Vance, are we? If you miss him, just go see him. Or maybe you can get him to pick you up from campus again. Ripped from her thoughts, Riley's face instantly turned bright red. Maya, I'm going to kill you, she huffed. Ooh, look at her blush. Heh, your body doesn't lie, sweetie. Another friend, Shannon Lee, chimed in, always happy to stir the pot. I'm done with you too. I'm going to class. Riley pouted, shooting them a glare. She grabbed her textbook and a pen, then glanced at the time. How's it so late? Was I spacing out for that long? She scrambled to pack her things as the bell for class was about to ring. We thought you didn't have a class now, Maya said, surprised. Shannon shrugged with a wry smile. Me too. I've been grinding on this new game on Steam. I was going to ask you to download it and play with us. It's awesome. Riley was already rushing out the door, her books clutched in her arms, with no time to listen to her friends. The matter with Victor Stone would have to wait. She'd cross that bridge when she came to it. Meanwhile, in the chairman's office of the Marcos family company. This is hilarious. Leo Flynn roared with laughter, clutching an invitation in his hand. The Young family is launching a new cosmetic product in 3 days. The heavens are on my side. His laughter subsided, and his eyes filled with a cold light. Jessica Young, you're bringing this humiliation upon yourself. Don't blame me. In 3 days, I'll give you a surprise you'll never forget. I'll use your own birthday party to launch my product. Let's see whose face will be burning with shame by the end of the night. He glanced at the name of the product described in the invitation. Volcanic Clay Beauty Formula. It sounded like cheap garbage that would never sell. Great marketing gimmick, but the actual effect would be pathetic. Leo couldn't imagine any skincare product in the world being more effective than the secret formula he possessed. Even if his old master found out he was scalping the formula for profit, he'd turn a blind eye. After all, his master had no interest in money. He'd never even touched it. The next 3 days passed in a flash. To Asher's relief, the she-devil Scarlet had been uncharacteristically quiet, leaving him in peace. The Dragon Queen, Anya, on the other hand, had been acting ridiculously helpless, sometimes even asking him to open a can of soda for her. Asher had to fight the urge to strangle her. You can't open a bottle? You could probably cave a man's skull in with one slap. Lady, please, stop messing with me. Asher could take a beating, but he didn't enjoy being played for a fool. Still, following the path of least resistance, he indulged her minor requests. It was easy enough, since she only ever asked him to do trivial things like opening jars or carrying something for her. It was like having a domineering girlfriend, except way more terrifying. One wrong word, and people could actually die. As evening approached, Asher stood before a full-length mirror in the Vance family mansion, adjusting the cheapest suit he owned. He wanted to go cheaper, but this $10,000 suit was the bottom of the barrel in his closet. The one he'd ordered online wouldn't arrive in time. Tonight was all about getting his face slapped. After all, there would probably be some scuffles and embarrassing moments, and the suit was likely to get damaged. With his now ripped physique and well-defined abs, the suit made him look like a thug in tailored clothing, a gangster in disguise. He glanced at his watch. Almost time. Better head down. BZZ. Suddenly, his phone, lying on the table, started ringing. Asher frowned. Who would be calling him at a time like this? He picked it up and checked the caller ID. Is this dumb blonde crazy? What's she calling me for at a time like this? Go call your boyfriend, the Dragon King. Despite his grumbling, he answered with a hint of confusion. Serafina? What's up? Come to my house. Pick me up. I'll be waiting outside my gate. Before Asher could even think of an excuse, she hung up. Asher was stunned. Sigma, the dumb blonde, is getting smarter. Damn, they're all learning bad habits. Where did she pick up these weirdly effective conversation tactics? He rubbed his nose, thinking back. He realized, with a sinking feeling, that the culprit was him. After their last clubbing outing, Serafina hadn't contacted him for 2 days, but then she started asking him out again for dinner and other things. Naturally, Asher had refused. He wasn't a real simp. Why would he waste his time on her when there was no plot to follow? Agreeing would just mean sitting through a pointless dinner, and he had no interest in raising her affection level. Why create trouble for himself? But now, it seemed she'd learned from her failures. Serafina getting smarter was not a good thing for him. Right, that's it. Next time, if there's no plot involved, I'm just not going to answer her calls. I'll say my phone was dead, or I left it at home. Muttering to himself, Asher pocketed his car keys and left the room. When Asher got downstairs, he found both Chloe and Anya waiting. Chloe was also dressed to go out. Seeing Asher, Anya walked over. Ready to go? Asher nodded. Yeah, you ride with Chloe. I have to go pick someone up. At his words, both women paused. But Chloe's reaction was the strongest. The only people Asher would personally pick up were either Scarlet or Serafina. And knowing Scarlet's fiercely independent nature, she'd never ask for a ride. That left only one possibility. Anya, just ignore that idiot. You can ride with me, Chloe said, letting out a little huff through her nose. Anya shook her head, her voice flat. I'm a bodyguard. It is my duty to protect the client's life. Hiss. Asher sucked in a breath. Dragon Queen, can you not be so damn rigid? Protect me? More like murder me. It's not like I want to pick up the dumb blonde. I'm being forced to. Do you understand the pain of a villain? Oh, wait, no. The pain of a simp. Ahem. My sports car only has 2 seats, Asher said quickly. Can't fit anyone else. Just a tiny bit of room. Chloe's expression darkened. She knew it. It was at Serafina Hayes again. Anya asked, why not just take a different car? A different car? Asher looked at Anya, then at his fuming sister. An idea sparked in his mind, and a slow smile spread across his face. At the Hayes estate, Serafina stood outside the main gate, holding a Gucci bag and waiting. She wore a stunning white high-slit evening gown that exposed her long, milky white legs. A pair of Chanel earrings dangled from her delicate earlobes, adding an indescribable touch of class. Her makeup was exquisite. A woman dresses for the one she desires, and she had clearly come prepared. Inside, Harrison and Mrs. Hayes were hiding by a window, spying on the scene outside. See, Harrison, I told you our daughter was up to something. You believe me now? All dressed up like that. She's definitely going to meet someone she fancies. I'd bet my life on it. Mrs. Hayes declared, someone she likes must be at that young girl's party tonight. Harrison gritted his teeth. Which bastard is it? If his family doesn't have money, I swear I'll hire someone to break all 3 of his legs. Mrs. Hayes shot him a withering look. Relax, Harrison. The boy our daughter has her eye on definitely comes from a better family than ours. Harrison frowned. How can you be so sure? Mrs. Hayes smiled knowingly. A woman's intuition. As they were talking, the roar of an engine grew closer. A black Mercedes G-Wagon pulled up and stopped in front of the gate. He's here. Mrs. Hayes and her husband pressed their faces against the glass. Outside, Serafina looked confused. Didn't Asher usually drive that obnoxious green sports car? Had he changed his style? A moment later, a car door opened, and her confusion was resolved. Serafina, oh, no, good evening. Asher climbed out of the back seat, followed closely by Anya. Chloe sat in the driver's seat, watching the scene with an amused expression. Serafina's brow furrowed. Didn't I ask you to come pick me up? By you? She meant him alone. A one-on-one affair. Asher played dumb, smiling. I did. I'm here, aren't I? You know what I mean, she said, her gaze shifting to Anya. Anya stared back, sizing her up. 2 female leads meeting. What a joyous occasion. Wait, no, there's a lowly in the G-Wagon too. 3 of them in one place. This picture couldn't get any prettier. Asher launched into the excuse he'd prepared on the way over. All the other cars in my garage have issues, big and small. None of them are drivable tonight, he said, his face a mask of profound disappointment. Combined with his pained expression and subtle body language, his bullshit sounded completely genuine. If his inner monologue hadn't betrayed him, Serafina and the others might have actually believed it. Fine, we'll take my car, then, Serafina said, turning to go back into the mansion for her keys. Holy shit, you little trash can, you don't have the power to play this game. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received cash plus $23,333. Serafina. Wait. Asher called out. What is it? She asked, turning back to look at him with a puzzled expression. Without missing a beat, Asher bent slightly, pointing to his right leg. This leg has been acting up recently. It keeps twitching. I can walk fine, but the doctor advised me not to drive for a while. If the dumb blonde was going to summon him, he wasn't just going to roll over and obey. Your plotline doesn't even start until the middle of the party. Don't go ad-libbing your own scenes. And if I drove you there, what would people think? That Asher Vance finally won his true love? Pah. Disgusting. The thought of it makes me sick to my stomach. The driver's side window of the G-Wagon rolled down. Asher, Anya, get in. The party's about to start. I don't want to be late because someone's dawdling. I don't want to have to explain that to Jessica. It was Chloe's voice. Her family's business collaboration with the Hayes Corporation was a thing of the past life. In this life, Chloe had no intention of sharing Asher with any other woman. Chloe, nice one. One assist. Asher forced a pained smile and muttered a few more apologies before climbing into the G-Wagon with Anya. He was certain Serafina would be too concerned with her pride to dare get in with them. As it turned out, Asher had overestimated her. Inside the G-Wagon, a bizarre scene unfolded. Asher was seated in the middle of the back seat, with Serafina on his right and Anya on his left. Neither woman had been willing to take the front passenger seat. Asher had tried to back out, but the Dragon Queen had yanked him back inside. To save time, Chloe, though annoyed, didn't have the energy to argue. She slammed her foot on the gas and peeled away. They left a stunned Mr. and Mrs. Hayes standing at the window. The expressions on their faces were priceless. Well, our daughter isn't as innocent as she looks. When did she get so close with the Vance siblings? Harrison, did you see what I saw? I saw trillions of dollars waving at us. Oh, get out of here, you old fool. The parking lot of the Bulgari Hotel was a sea of luxury cars. A massive LED screen above the entrance scrolled a message. On this special day, I am so happy that time has not changed the friendship between us. Jessica Young. A warm welcome to all guests and socialites attending tonight's birthday celebration at the Bulgari Hotel. A long red carpet stretched out from the entrance. Every detail was of the highest standard. Money was clearly no object. Asher and the three women got out of the car. Just standing at the entrance, he could already see dozens of familiar faces, the movers and shakers of the city's upper echelon. Among them were countless beautiful socialites and wealthy wives, all drawn by the rumor that the Young family was launching a revolutionary new skincare product. They had come to see if the results were as miraculous as the whispers claimed. Money wasn't the issue. What was a man's money for, if not for his woman to spend? After showing their invitations to the security guards, they were allowed inside. The main hall was already buzzing with activity. Asher felt an immense pressure building. With three of the novel's heroines by his side, their combined beauty immediately made them the center of attention. One would have been enough. Three at once was just overkill. A chill went down his spine. And it wasn't just them. He knew other female leads would be here tonight. Zara Thorne and Cassie Lee, for starters. The former had a legitimate invitation. The latter would likely use Zoe Zhou to sneak in. In short, it was going to be a chaotic stew. This is my no way home, Asher sighed under his breath. Asher, my man, a familiar, slick voice called out. Asher looked up to see a young man and woman hurrying toward them. Toby, hey, and Piper, you two are here early. Standing beside Toby Page was a delicate-looking young woman. While her beauty couldn't quite match that of the main heroines, she was still a rare gem. It was his sister, Piper Page. When the girls saw Asher, a sweet smile lit up her face, revealing two adorable canine teeth. Long time no see, Ash. Asher greeted her with a smile. Then, Piper spotted Chloe and happily rushed over to hug her. Chloe, when did you get back? Just a little while ago, Chloe replied, smiling. The two were good friends. Chloe, you've grown so much. I'm so jealous, Piper said shamelessly, rubbing her head against Chloe's chest. Guys like this, right? When will I grow up to be like Chloe? Then maybe Ash will finally notice me. While the two girls chatted, Toby shot Asher a look that screamed, "You are the man." It had only been a few days, and already there was another stunning beauty by his side. How had he never realized what a legend his friend Asher was before? A true master hiding in plain sight. Bro, I need to talk to you about something. In private. Seeing the mischievous glint in Toby's eyes, Asher already knew what he wanted to talk about. This was the perfect chance to escape. Sure, Serafina, Anya, you two go ahead and mingle. Before they could respond, Toby shook his head guiltily. No, it's fine. It won't take much of your time, Asher. Nonsense. Asher shot his idiot sidekick a look of disappointment. I have something to talk to you about, too. Toby was confused. Is my bro afraid his two girlfriends will disapprove? Does he have a ball and chain? Before Toby could overthink it, Asher grabbed his arm and pulled him into the crowd. The guests at Jessica Yang's party were all rich, powerful, and influential. Even a family as mighty as the Van Cess had to make appearances and exchange pleasantries with business partners. It was all part of the game. Already, a few wealthy wives had approached Serafina to offer toasts. Anya knew Cassie Lee would also be here tonight. Leo Flynn had given them that mission. But even if he hadn't, they would have come anyway. After temporarily escaping the three heroines, Asher let out a sigh of relief. He turned to Toby. Okay, what's up? Toby's expression was complicated. Is he really whipped? Not that it was his business. He swallowed hard and gave a sleazy grin. Asher, bro, the superstar Lena is here tonight. You think there's a chance? You know, to make a high bid for her first time, what man would ever say no to more? Before Asher was officially with Serafina, Toby would never have dared to suggest such a thing. But now that he'd conquered that mountain, it was time to look for the next peak. After all, before Serafina came along, Asher had shown a keen interest in Lena, and Toby had remembered that. The entertainment industry was a cesspool. It was full of actresses who had been coerced into sleeping their way to the top. But Lena was a breath of fresh air, a true anomaly. In all her years in the business, there had never been a single negative story about her. She'd never even had a boyfriend. All her kissing scenes were done with a body double and CGI. She was beautiful, and her voice was enchanting. Dude, will you stop thinking with your dick? Asher's mouth twitched. Lena wasn't for a villain like him. She was a heroine meant for the protagonist. And between him and the smirking Dragon King, who was the protagonist? Obviously him. Asher had never felt so exasperated in his life. Oh, Toby scratched his head. This wasn't right. This wasn't the suave, playboy Asher he knew, the one who never got attached. Hey, Asher, isn't that the asshole from last time? Toby pointed to a familiar face across the room. Asher followed his finger. Speak of the devil, the Dragon King himself. Sensing Asher's gaze, Leo Flynn and Manny Marcos looked their way. WWO. Lena and is here, someone in the crowd shouted. Everyone's head turned toward the entrance. Even in the upper echelons of society, there were always a few starstruck fans, though their idols were different. But this was a testament to Lena Ann's own charisma. She had recently starred in a series of fantasy epics, period dramas, and action blockbusters that had become nationwide sensations. They were heavy on romance and drama, hitting all the right notes for a female audience. Asher glanced over as well. A woman whose beauty was on par with any of the heroines by his side entered the hall. She wore an emerald, backless dress, her long, straight legs gliding forward in black high heels. With her stunning looks and natural star power, she instantly became the focus of the entire room. Lena Ann's gorgeous face immediately caught Leo Flynn's attention. New York really is a wonderful place, Leo murmured, a mysterious smirk playing on his lips as he watched the actress at the center of the storm. Asher had already looked away. It was just Lena Ann. It wasn't like he hadn't seen her in his past life. Beauty was so cliché. Bro, your fiancé is here. Toby's voice suddenly cut in. Asher froze, instinctively following his friend's gaze back toward the entrance. A woman in a black lace cocktail dress and another in a fiery red one walked into the hall. The one in black, Scarlet, had legs so perfectly sculpted and porcelain white they looked like treasures, completely bare without any stockings. With every step, the dress hinted at the breathtaking scenery beneath, sparking the imagination. Asher winced. The she-devil was breathtakingly, suffocatingly beautiful. Pure A-list. In the evening light, she was so sexy it almost made his head spin. He had to resist the urge to tell her how much he missed her. He then glanced at the future queen of the underworld, Zara Thorne. Fate was a funny thing. When she had been his girlfriend, he never realized she was as drop-dead gorgeous. Maybe it was the ex-girlfriend effect. You take what you have for granted, and only when it's gone do you realize what you've lost. It was like she had completely transformed, especially tonight, looking so dominant and powerful. Let's go, Asher said, feeling the need for a drink. Toby stood frozen in place, not responding. Asher walked a few steps, then turned back, thinking Toby hadn't heard him. See a pretty girl, and you can't move? No, that's not it, Toby said, his face paler than a ghost's. Then what is it? Bro, your fiancé is walking this way. So, look at this wimp. It's just the she-devil. It's not like we haven't met before. A split second later, Asher realized the gravity of the situation. Death. He jumped. The master was right next to him. Ahem. I've been right here the whole time. How could I be avoiding you? Asher said, turning around. Scarlet had appeared out of nowhere. Damn, did you put a tracker on me? And it wasn't just Scarlet. Zara Thorne was with her. The two of them didn't need to guess what Asher was thinking. His panicked inner monologue had already given him away. I brought the candy I promised to buy you, the she-devil said, ignoring the setting completely. She dangled her black Chanel bag in front of his face. Who knew what she had stashed in there? A few packs of. Ahem. Who knew what? Bro, you like candy? Toby asked, scratching his head. He'd known Asher for so long and had never seen him eat any. Not your bro. I'm your second brother. Fuck. Is this really the time to be talking about this? She-devil, are you insane? It's Jessica's birthday tonight. I'm waiting to get my face slapped. I'm warning you, don't mess around. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received stamina +1. Asher was panicking. He didn't have time for the damn system and its absurdly useless rewards. I quit. I'm not playing anymore. I have some sometimes when I'm thinking, Asher said, brushing it off. Zara Thorne blinked. Her curiosity piqued. Who was this second brother Asher was talking about? Scarlet gave him a look that said, I've got you right where I want you. Goosebumps erupted on Asher's skin. He grabbed Toby, ready to make a run for it. Toby Page, if you dare take him away, you're dead. Zara's voice, cool and casual, drifted over. It sounded like she was commenting on the weather. A cold sweat broke out on Toby's back. In the spirit of sacrificing a friend to save himself, he decisively abandoned Asher. He knew Zara wouldn't do anything to Asher, but his family? That was another story. Bro, I just remembered I have laundry I forgot to take in. Hey, what damn laundry? With me here, what are you afraid of? At that, Toby's legs seemed to sprout wings, and he bolted even faster. What am I afraid of? Easy for you to say. One is your fiancée, the other is your ex-girlfriend. Putting Scarlett aside for a moment, Zara Thorne's family alone could crush me. I don't want to go home and have my father break my legs. In a matter of seconds, Toby was gone. Asher's mouth twitched. His number one wingman had fled. Useless. Look how scared he is. Drink, Zara asked. A charming smile curved Scarlett's lips as she looked at Asher. A drink. What will be, will be. He couldn't escape it. I'm a villain. Why would I be afraid of you two? Let's drink. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hall, this is it. Blue Cosmetics finally came out with something decent. The effects are amazing. Look at my skin. I've only used it for 2 days, and I'm already so much fairer. No way. Look closely at Mrs. Lee's face. Her skin really does look more hydrated. Let me see. A moment later, a gasp of disbelief rippled through the group. Wow, it's true. The socialites gathered in a corner of the hall were staring, their eyes wide. The effect was that good. A woman's appearance was everything. They all wanted to stay young and beautiful forever. That way, their husbands wouldn't run off with some shameless homewrecker. Mrs. Lee, don't keep it to yourself. Tell us where you bought that skincare product. If Blue Cosmetics had something this good, we would have heard about it by now, one of her friends demanded. Mrs. Lee smiled smugly. Of course you haven't heard of it. It hasn't been officially released yet. I'm one of the lucky few who got early access. The other ladies and socialites looked on with envy. Similar scenes were playing out in every corner of the hall. This was all part of Leo Flynn's plan. Some of the women had been paid, but many more were simply blown away by the product's amazing results and were happy to provide free advertising, recommending it to their friends and mahjong partners. This was his first move, treating the guests. Haha, Dragon King. That first move was brilliant, Manny Marcos said, his face full of genuine admiration as he listened to the buzzing from a nearby table about Blue Cosmetics' new product. The Dragon King has outsmarted everyone. With a simple trick, he's using Jessica Yang's own party and money to promote our product. We're getting incredible word-of-mouth advertising without spending a dime. This move is ruthless. A mysterious smirk appeared on Leo Flynn's face. To Manny, it looked incredibly cool. Manny, the main event is still to come. When will you learn to be as calm as I am? Manny lowered his head and smiled. You are right to lecture me, Dragon King. Leo's smile widened. Then, his gaze inadvertently fell on a certain spot in the room, and his composure shattered. Over there, at one table, sat a collection of the most beautiful women he had ever seen. Each one was breathtaking, and in the middle of them all, there was only one man. That man was Asher Vance. Manny Marcos frowned and followed Leo's gaze. Holy hell, it was like he'd stumbled upon a nest of goddesses. Women this beautiful were a rare sight, and here they were, all gathered in one place. The mature beauty, the cute lowly, the Ice Queen CEO. Manny even saw the woman Leo wanted to pursue, Serafina Hayes, sitting among them. A cold glint flashed in Manny's eyes. That damn playboy. How dare he try to steal the Dragon King's woman? He must have a death wish. Dragon King, should I go teach that spoiled brat a lesson? Manny offered, ready to take action. Leo's eyes were icy. He thought for a moment. No need. Nemesis and Seraph are both here. Let the brat enjoy himself for now. After tonight, our skincare business will explode. Once we have enough capital, we'll coordinate with them for an inside-out attack. Asher Vance will die. Manny nodded, not daring to disrupt Leo's plan. The two of them just sat there, glaring at Asher with intense animosity. Meanwhile, Asher, unknowingly at the center of the storm, didn't dare to move a muscle. What the hell had he done to deserve this? All these female protagonists had gathered around him like they were crazy. At first, it was just him, the she-devil, and the underworld queen at this table. Then Chloe saw them and came over. Anya, being his bodyguard, was understandable. Cassie Lee was playing both sides, probably here to gather intelligence. That was also understandable. After all, he was technically her boss. Kate Young was Chloe's friend, just here to chat. Asher could accept all of that. He could tolerate it. The only one he didn't understand was the dumb blonde. What the hell was she doing here? She was supposed to be avoiding him. Asher's inner monologue was running wild, but he wasn't the only one. You could say every woman at the table was having an internal crisis of her own. They were all exchanging loaded glances. And, thanks to Asher, the emotionless inner monologue broadcasting machine, they all had a basic understanding of each other. I created a WhatsApp group chat before. It's mainly for discussing interesting topics. Right now, there are only 4 of us, including me. Anyone interested can join, Scarlett said, her slender fingers tapping on her phone. She pulled up a QR code and placed it on the table. Kate and Chloe, who were already in the group, exchanged knowing looks. The other women who hadn't joined looked at each other. With the exception of Anya, the Dragon Queen who disliked carrying a phone, Serafina, and the others all joined. This move completely baffled Asher. He wanted to join too, to see what was going on, but Scarlet, the group admin, had shut him out. Holy shit, if someone else had been the admin, I wouldn't be so shocked. But they're all heroines. The heroines have formed a group to plot how to take down the villain. Makes sense, right? Totally makes sense. But who has ever seen a female villain leading the heroines? This is a coup. Is the she-devil going to turn all the heroines to her side? Asher swallowed hard. This was getting out of hand. He glanced at the she-devil in front of him. Sensing his gaze, Scarlet smiled at him. What is it? Asher rubbed his nose. Nothing. Oh, for fuck's sake, did I just accidentally unlock the hell difficulty mode for this game? The day the demoness becomes the demon slayer, the female villain becomes the heroine. Stop. I'm all alone in this fight, battling the plot single-handedly. Hiss. Chloe, why did you just step on my foot? Asher hissed at his sister, who was sitting next to him. Don't be fooled by her cute black Lolita boots. They packed a serious punch. She must have put all her weight into it. Oh, sorry. My foot slipped, Chloe said with a token apology. The other women silently gave Chloe a thumbs up. Damn, not a shred of sincerity in that apology. When will your foot slip in the right place? Asher felt a pressing need to change seats. He couldn't change tables, but he couldn't stay next to this little demoness either. He couldn't beat the big one, and he couldn't hit the little one. This was infuriating. Just then, the lights in the hall suddenly went dark. A single white spotlight fell on the entrance. A woman as beautiful as a goddess walked in. She was the star of tonight's party, Jessica Young. Under the spotlight, Jessica wore a sophisticated, off-the-shoulder gown in a deep emerald green. Her bare, snow-white shoulders made her look noble and elegant, with an undercurrent of indescribable sexiness. She was already a natural beauty, but after using the volcanic clay formula and with her meticulous makeup and styling, she was more stunning than ever. As Jessica walked into the hall in her high heels, the entire crowd was captivated. It was as if they had forgotten how to breathe. It took them a moment to recover. Damn, Jessica Young is gorgeous. My God, her skin is so smooth and radiant. I'm so jealous. Underscore winky face. Man, whoever is lucky enough to marry Jessica Young in the future is going to be the luckiest bastard alive. Crude. This is high society. Watch your damn mouth. A few second-generation rich kids, who had only gotten in thanks to their sisters, could only resort to vulgarity to express their overwhelming excitement. The gap between their families and the Yangs was so vast they didn't even dare to fantasize about her. Jessica Young was a woman they could never have. At the center of the stage, Jessica stood at the podium, a smile on her face, holding the microphone a staff member had handed her. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here to celebrate my birthday with me. As she spoke, her eyes scanned the crowd, searching for that one figure who occupied her thoughts. Perhaps it was a psychic connection, but she found him in no time. The man of her dreams was sitting at a table surrounded by a group of goddesses whose beauty was in no way inferior to her own. A seductive smile touched Jessica's lipstick-painted lips. Heh, so everyone's here, she thought. The battle for Ash's affection officially begins now. Hiss, why does Jessica keep looking at me? Is there something on my face? Tonight is supposed to be your main battleground with the protagonist, the Dragon King. I know there will be plenty of face-slapping, but can you just pretend I'm invisible for a little while? Asher was incredibly embarrassed. During Jessica's 10-minute speech, her gaze was like a laser, landing on him 7 or 8 times out of 10. The clueless onlookers around them started to notice, their curious gazes following hers. When they saw the table of stunning beauties, their confusion cleared. Kate Young was there, after all. Everyone just assumed it was a case of an older sister looking out for her younger one. All right, time is limited, so I'll keep this brief, Jessica continued. Let's get straight to the part of the evening you've all been waiting for, the skincare product. The proof is in the pudding. To demonstrate its effects, the Young family has invited the lovely Miss Lena and to unveil it for us here tonight. As Jessica spoke, she watched the crowd's reaction. She wasn't an idiot. The response from the socialites below was unexpectedly flat, which was far from what she had anticipated. She knew most of them had come not just to network, but also because of the miraculous effects of the volcanic clay formula mentioned in the invitation. Right now, the atmosphere felt off. This is hilarious. Dragon King, look at that dumbfounded expression on Jessica Yang's face. It's priceless, Manny Marcos chuckled. After finding out that Leo had been rebuffed by Jessica, Manny, as the Dragon King's #1 lackey, was naturally eager for revenge. A mysterious smirk played on Leo's lips as he snorted. She brought this all on herself. I gave her a chance, and she threw it back in my face. As he spoke, Leo's eyes, filled with greed, roamed over Jessica's beautiful face. With everyone's attention on the stage, no one noticed them. A woman in a professional-looking suit hurried over to Jessica's side and whispered something in her ear. Jessica's brow furrowed. The woman left, and Jessica, holding the microphone, scanned the crowd again. A moment later, she spotted Leo and Manny. "Mr. Flynn," she said, her voice ringing out through the hall. "I've just discovered that when a person has no shame, they are truly invincible." The lights in the hall had already come back on. The crowd was bewildered. What has happened? They followed Jessica's gaze and saw two handsome young men. Many of them wondered what the two had done to provoke her. Leo simply shrugged and stood up from his chair. "Miss Young, I haven't done anything. You can't just slander me like that. All I did was give out a few samples of a useful skincare product. How does that make me shameless in your eyes? Is giving gifts now a crime in the United States?" Every word was a poisoned dart. The crowd paused, then it dawned on them. This Leo Flynn was truly shameless. He had twisted his act of poaching her business into giving gifts, and then connected it to breaking the law. His rhetorical skills were top-notch. Jessica's eyes looked like they were about to shoot flames. It felt like all her hard work was about to be snatched away right at the finish line. If it were a fair business competition, Jessica wouldn't back down for a second. But what Leo was doing was just disgusting. The most shocked person in the entire room was Asher. "Oh shit, this is a big deal. A huge deal. Aren't the protagonist and heroine supposed to be partners? Weren't they supposed to launch their new skincare products together tonight, profit together, and form a united front to defeat the villain? It's over, it's all over. Holy shit, the protagonist and heroine are fighting. What the hell is this? This damn cute plot from hell. Is this really hell difficulty mode? Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received cash, plus $10,000. Asher was dumbfounded. He watched the two continue to tear into each other, his mind a complete mess. This was supposed to be a face-slapping plotline. Why is the protagonist's face the one getting slapped? This is insane. Kate and the other women's dislike for Leo reached a new peak. Kate had already left her seat and gone to stand by her sister's side. Leo, however, looked completely unfazed, like a dead pig that didn't fear boiling water. Jessica was in the right, sure, but so what? She was in the right, but her product was garbage. Its effects couldn't compare to his. On the surface, Jessica and the Young family might win tonight. But behind the scenes, once everyone left, the socialites and wives who had used his special aloe vera formula would still go to him to buy his product. The word-of-mouth recommendations among friends and relatives were the real prize. Glare all you want. If you've got the goods, bring them out and sell them. Leo was inwardly delighted. He loved watching beautiful women get angry. If he could provoke them, it meant there was still a chance to change their minds. The days ahead were long. There was no need to rush. "You want to compare the effectiveness of our products?" Jessica asked coolly. "You said it, not me," Leo smiled. "Woman, you've walked right into my trap. But what happens if your family's product doesn't measure up and you end up embarrassing yourselves? You should worry about yourself first," Jessica shot back. She raised a delicate, pale hand and beckoned to a female staff member. A flicker of annoyance crossed Leo's eyes. "Miss Young, if you have your own staff find someone to test the products, what if they fake the results? What if I clearly win, but they say I lost? I'd be more wronged than a witch at Salem." Jessica was indifferent. "Then how do you suggest we do it?" A confident expression appeared on Leo's face. "Let's invite 2 guests from the audience. Of course, their skin problems should be roughly the same. What do you think?" "Fine," Jessica replied coldly. "Heh, woman, you've successfully pissed me off." Leo's smile remained. A barking dog doesn't bite, but a silent one does. If Jessica wanted to shoot herself in the foot, Leo was more than happy to help her. There were many ways to win over a goddess. Not everyone is born in Rome, but all roads lead to it. Leo's plan was to crush the family fortunes of these beautiful women, to make them realize their grave mistake. Then, one day, when they could no longer hold on, they would kneel and beg him for mercy. If being soft didn't work, he'd be hard. If that didn't work, he'd use both. At his table, Asher couldn't watch anymore. The protagonist and heroine were at each other's throats. His plotline was well and truly screwed. His brain was a chaotic mess. He felt like he was watching the wrong movie. He decided to use the excuse of needing the restroom to go splash some water on his face and clear his head. He needed to sort through his thoughts and contemplate the 3 great philosophical questions of life. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Hopefully, when he came back, the movie would be playing correctly. The moment Asher's foot was out the door, the heroines at his table dropped all pretenses. When Asher was there, they had been sparring through their WhatsApp group chat. With Asher gone, the gloves came off. Here's the situation. We live in a novel. You all know this by now, so I don't need to elaborate, Scarlett began, taking a sip of her wine. She smiled. I hope you can all continue to follow the plot, act as if nothing has happened, and respect Asher's own wishes. Soon, the price of oil would crash. The Vance and Joe families would become unstoppable. Scarlett believed she didn't even need to say it out loud. Eleanor Vance would grab Asher and force him to marry her. At that point, the Joe family would have absolute authority. Even with all her confidence, Scarlett didn't think she could take on this pack of vixens alone. But there was no rule that said she had to take the direct route. A flanking maneuver to save Asher was in order. Once the deed was done, what could these goddesses, as beautiful as they were, do to compete with her? They might be willing to be his mistresses, but Scarlett had too much pride for that. Yeah. Then why don't you lead by example? Zara Thorne retorted with a cold laugh. Serafina Hayes frowned. She didn't say anything, but she clearly agreed with Zara. Anya and Cassie Lee remained silent. Cassie had some fond feelings for Asher, but it hadn't yet blossomed into romantic love. Then there was Chloe. The others subconsciously didn't even consider her arrival. What harm could a little sister do? Would she defy social conventions? Would she want to be scorned by future generations? Their children with Asher would be legitimate. Chloe's child with Asher would be a bastard, and could possibly suffer from genetic defects. Therefore, Chloe's threat level was practically zero. Scarlett raised her wine glass. Fine by me. She took a sip. It was only a matter of a few days. She could wait. The other women weren't fools. Your agreement is your business. We never said we would play by your rules, Zara said, downing a mouthful of wine. Scarlett shrugged. It didn't matter if they didn't play along. As long as they didn't team up against her, she could handle them one by one. Strange. Hasn't Scarlett already set a trap for us? Chloe sensed that something was amiss. When Scarlett smiles, someone's life is on the line. Something was wrong. Her strong woman's intuition told her she couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Don't you all think now isn't the time for infighting? Cassie Lee suddenly spoke up. She had no designs on Asher. This was just a well-intentioned reminder. All eyes turned to her. What do you mean? Zara asked. Cassie smiled and pointed to a radiant figure on the stage. That A-list starlet, Lena, is also one of the heroines. You should all team up and keep her away from Asher. Otherwise, she'll hear his inner voice too. The women's eyes widened in realization. Zara crossed her legs. Good point. Chloe glanced at Lena and clucked her tongue. Another one with a big ass. Then, the lowly looked at the other women and said matter-of-factly, Scarlett, you all need to be careful. My brother has a thing for big asses. You need to be on your guard. Chloe's skill at turning them against each other was masterful. At her words, the other women's faces turned grim. Anya, with a puzzled expression, glanced behind her and gave her own backside a little squeeze. She then looked back at Lena and made a mental comparison. Okay, hers wasn't small either. In fact, it was probably a little bigger than Lena Ann's. Back at the front of the hall, two socialites who had volunteered to test the skincare products walked onto the stage. Their skin was well-maintained, but there were still some minor imperfections. Who wants to use the volcanic clay formula? Jessica asked. The two women remained silent, their eyes fixed on the bottle of aloe vera formula in Leo's hand. Huh. Leo was secretly overjoyed. His early advertising had paid off. Miss Young, your product doesn't seem very popular, he taunted. You won't know how good it is until you've tried it, Jessica said calmly. Leo was filled with disdain. He scoffed. Garbage is garbage. No matter how fancy a name you give it, you can't hide the fact that it's still garbage. Soon, the two young women had removed their light makeup with cleansing water. The crowd of wives and young heiresses held their breath, their eyes glued to the stage. The two women each applied their respective products, the volcanic clay formula and the aloe vera formula. The wives who had already experienced the aloe vera formula firsthand were dismissive of the volcanic clay. Leo had a confident smile on his face the entire time. When the young woman took out the volcanic clay formula, he laughed again. It was a dark, sludgy mess. What the hell is that? Is that even for human use? The socialite applying it had a flash of disgust in her eyes, but she had already agreed. She didn't want to back out now and embarrass the Young family. When the mud-like product was applied to her face, she was pleasantly surprised. It was cool and refreshing, and though it looked unappealing, dark and thick, it had a light, fresh scent. In contrast, the socialite using the aloe vera formula didn't have such a dramatic experience. It was comfortable enough to use. Miss Young, a drink? Leo brought over 2 glasses of red wine, smiling. Jessica ignored him. So, the Dragon King drank by himself. Wiping the wine from his lips, he said, "If you change your mind and still want to cooperate, I'll give you the chance." You have an overly inflated sense of self-worth, don't you? Jessica raised an eyebrow. Leo smiled. Thank you for the compliment. I may not have much, but I have plenty of confidence. If a man doesn't even have confidence, he's nothing. That's not confidence, Jessica corrected him coolly. It's an annoying, blind arrogance. 15 minutes passed quickly. The change in the face of the socialite who used the aloe vera formula was obvious. After all, the volcanic clay formula was a black mess. After using it, you couldn't really see any change until you washed it off. The vast majority of the guests in the audience believed Leo's product had won. The difference was clear. Even without an official announcement, many had already made up their minds. After the party, they would find Leo and order a batch of his product to give to friends, family, wives, and even other people's wives. It wasn't just the women. The second-generation rich guys were also excited. This was a babe magnet. A mysterious smirk formed on Leo's lips. Humiliating Jessica Young like this was incredibly satisfying. The socialite who had used the volcanic clay formula had now washed it off with clean water. The chatter in the audience gradually died down. A moment later, someone started to clap. Soon, the entire hall erupted in thunderous applause. Leo was taken aback. There's applause? He didn't look at the socialite's face. Instead, he opened his arms wide, basking in what he thought was a beautiful symphony dedicated to him. The applause seemed to grow even louder. The average yet overconfident Leo was ecstatic. All my competitors are idiots. My product success is all thanks to their incompetence. Dragon King, Dragon King. Manny's voice buzzed in his ear. Leo opened his eyes and shot him an annoyed glance. What is it? Manny was so embarrassed he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. I don't think. That applause is for us. Leo frowned, disbelieving. What did you say? Manny pointed Leo toward the socialite who had used the volcanic clay formula. Her face was now visibly fairer, with a healthy, rosy glow. Her skin was as smooth and delicate as fine porcelain. Leo was stunned. Are you sure they didn't switch the person? The contrast with the woman who had used the aloe vera formula was stark. In an instant, the winner was clear. Without Jessica needing to say a word, the verdict was in. Jessica, when is your family's volcanic clay formula going to be released? One of her acquaintances asked impatiently. Is there a pre-sale? I want to order a few cases. I can give away what I don't use. This is unbelievable. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have thought they'd switched people. The discussion in the hall grew louder, quickly drowning out any mention of the aloe vera formula. Even the wives and socialites who had been given free samples of the aloe vera product were now intensely curious about the volcanic clay. The aloe vera in their hands suddenly seemed worthless. They weren't loyal fans of any particular brand. They used whatever worked best. It was only natural. Leo's face turned black. When had the Young family gotten their hands on the volcanic clay formula? He had never heard of such a recipe. Your product effect is mediocre at best, Jessica said, as if she had expected this all along. Her voice was tinged with a lazy confidence. Too weak. Not a single worthy opponent. Manny's face was ashen. He was deeply embarrassed now. They had come to crash the party, but instead of crashing it, they had become the laughingstock. Disgusting. This is so damn disgusting. But since Leo hadn't made a move, Manny didn't dare act on his own. Miss Young, it's not that my product is flawed, Leo said, refusing to concede. So what if he was being a sore loser? His dignity as the Dragon King would not be trampled on by anyone, especially not a woman. A Dragon King had to have backbone. Disgusting. Sis, don't listen to him. I'll have security throw him out, Kate said, annoyed. The two goddess-like sisters standing together were an invincible sight, exuding a unique charm. Leo laughed. Officer Young, it seems you don't have much confidence in your family's product. You, Kate's eyebrow twitched. Jessica reached out and stopped her. A cheap taunt. She turned to Leo. You can compete however you want. I'll make sure you lose so badly you'll have no excuses. Leo offered a plausible-sounding explanation. Although I'm not a skincare specialist, I know this much. The same person can have different results with different products. It doesn't mean the less effective product is of lower quality. It just means that person's skin is more suited to a particular product. Leo's argument was surprisingly reasonable and quickly quieted the crowd. The voices of those who had been criticizing him began to fade. Manny looked at him with admiration. He knew the Dragon King wouldn't give up so easily. It must have been a fluke. Jessica had just gotten lucky and found a test subject whose skin happened to be perfect for the volcanic clay. A vein throbbed on Kate's forehead. If Jessica hadn't stopped her, she would have had this shameless, lying bastard thrown out long ago. Just tell me how you want to compete, Jessica said flatly. This time, we'll use the same test subject. Half of her face will be treated with the aloe vera formula, and the other half with the volcanic clay formula. If I lose again, I, Leo Flynn, will personally apologize to you, Leo declared, throwing down the gauntlet. Jessica nodded. She beckoned to a female staff member and whispered something in her ear. The staff member then hurried away. The crowd was puzzled, unsure of what Jessica was planning. A few moments later, the staff member returned with 11 members of the cleaning staff. The custodians, unlike the silver spoon-fed wives and young ladies, were not so privileged. Their low wages and busy lives left them with little time or money for skincare. They were all between 30 and 50 years old, with rough skin of various types. Mr. Flynn, 5 of these ladies will use your aloe vera formula. The other 5 will use our volcanic clay formula. And the last one will do as you suggested. How does that sound? Jessica proposed. She had promised each of the custodians $500 in cash for their participation. A chance to get free skincare products and get paid for it. It was a godsend. They knew the Young family's products were high-end, with even the smallest bottle costing hundreds or thousands. They wouldn't miss this opportunity. Leo nodded in agreement. I have no problem with that. He added, this is much fairer. Jessica ignored him and instructed her staff to show the custodians how to use the products. Soon, the groups were formed. 5 on the left for the volcanic clay, 5 on the right for the aloe vera. The woman in the middle, whose skin was in slightly worse condition, would use both products. The atmosphere in the hall reached a new peak. Everyone's attention was glued to the stage, including the table of heroines. Well, not including Scarlet. She casually reached into her bag, pulled out a pack of tissues, and slipped it into her pocket. The movement was completely natural. Then, she took another sip of wine and rose from her seat without a sound. Every move was so fluid, she really did look like she was just going to the restroom. But no matter how quiet she was, her movements were noticed by the Dragon Queen, the little Demoness, and Cassie Lee. Anya blinked and exchanged a look with Cassie. Cassie just smiled and turned her attention back to the stage. By the time Chloe realized what was happening, she only saw Scarlet's retreating figure. Anya, however, was different. She had been watching Scarlet from the moment she reached into her bag. Do fairies not need to use the restroom? Anya was slightly surprised, but didn't feel the need to follow her. Meanwhile, in the men's restroom. Asher had lost count of how many times he had washed his face. Staring at his handsome reflection in the mirror, his eyelid twitched. What's the use of his handsome face? I need to follow the damn plot. System, you son of a bitch, you can't play dead this time. Get your ass out here. The plot has completely derailed, and you're still slacking off? Why are the protagonist and heroine at each other's throats? I gave Jessica the volcanic clay formula, but not so she could go up against the protagonist. Asher was on the verge of losing it. If things continued like this, when would it ever end? All he needed was a hint, just to know if he could still complete his mission and go home by following this path. If not, why was he working so hard? He might as well just take a few $100 million, find a place where no one knew him, and live out his days in obscurity. When the protagonist came knocking, he'd deal with it then. As long as he gave up fast enough, the system and the world's natural order couldn't do anything to him. At worst, he'd just die again. The one thing Asher Vance wasn't afraid of was death. Ping! The system's mechanical voice suddenly sounded, weak and faint, as if on its last legs. But Asher heard it. Yeah, holy shit, you're finally back. About damn time. The restroom was empty, so no one could hear him yelling. Asher was on the verge of tears, his voice filled with rage. You damn system, the plot is this screwed up. Are you going to do something about it or not? I'm telling you, don't push me. We can all go down together, and no one gets a happy ending. After a moment of silence, just as Asher thought the system had bailed again, the mechanical voice sounded once more. Ping! Asher's face darkened. This old bastard of a system must be broken, pinging over and over again. Speak, you damn thing. System, stop pinging and talk like a normal person. Asher snapped. The next moment, the system went silent again. No matter how much he called out, there was no response. Asher frowned, seriously considering the implications. After a while, a few possibilities came to mind. To test his theories, he tried to communicate with the system again. System, is the natural order of this world restricting you? Is that why you can't communicate with me properly? A few seconds passed. Ping. Asher was stunned. He'd guessed right on the first try. A grin spread across his face. So the way back home is hidden within the plot? Even if the plot has completely gone off the rails, you haven't given me any hints. Does that mean I don't need to do anything and can just keep being a bystander, a slacker? No matter what happens, as long as I just go with the flow, it'll all work out. Ping. Asher gasped. He was right again. So it doesn't matter if the plot is accelerated? It doesn't matter if they add their own scenes? Ping. Asher's joy was indescribable. The pinging system had shown him the way. He had been so worried before, but it was all for nothing. According to his cute little system, if there was a plot, he should follow it. If there wasn't, he could just chill. Even if they added their own scenes, all he had to do was go along with it, and he would eventually be able to go home. Asher felt like his life was once again filled with hope and meaning. Ping, ping, ping. The system's mechanical voice sounded 3 more times, then fell completely silent. Asher was slightly surprised, but didn't think much of it. The system was probably engaged in a brutal battle with the world's natural order, risking annihilation just to give him this information. It must have been severely weakened and gone dormant. Meng. I finally don't have to worry about the plot derailing anymore. It turns out just going with the flow was the right answer all along. A brilliant smile lit up Asher's face. He was about to leave the restroom and return to the party when he heard the distinct click-clack of high heels on the tile floor. In the quiet space, the sound was jarring. Asher didn't pay it much mind, but as he was about to exit the restroom, he ran into a familiar face. Scarlett Jo was standing just outside the door, a faint smile on her lips. "The women's room is over there," Asher said, pointing in a good mood. "Asher, do you remember when I said I'd treat you to some candy?" Scarlett's voice was slightly husky, and her cheeks were flushed. Her fair, beautiful swan-like neck was tinged with a charming blush. Her milky white skin contrasted sharply with her black lace dress. As she spoke, a faint, pleasant scent of red wine wafted from her sensual red lips. The she-devil truly lived up to her name. Asher took a step back, his eyes wide with a hint of panic. "You're serious? Holy shit. Scar, are you for real? Am I dreaming?" The system had already shown him which path to take and how to walk it. In other words, he just needed to show up wherever there was a plot. It didn't matter if the plot was the same as in his past life. The system had promised that as long as he followed the plot, he could go home. Even a derailed plot was still a plot. Oh, Scarlett's beautiful eyes glinted. This little wolf isn't being honest. His heart is screaming yes, but his mouth is saying no. This was a first for her, too. She was just as nervous as Asher, if not more so. But she was already here. "What do you think?" Those 3 simple words completely shattered Asher's defenses. She was too damn good at this. For the sake of fair play, the real she-devil shouldn't be allowed to compete. Asher sighed deeply. "What did I ever do to deserve this? This never even happened in my past life." "All right, Asher, here's the candy you wanted," Scarlett said, pulling a colorfully wrapped package of Pop Rocks from her pocket and dangling it in front of him. Incredible. She keeps her promises. The she-devil is the goat. Asher wanted to pretend to refuse again, just to see her reaction. If she forced him, that wouldn't be good. But Scarlett had anticipated his anticipation. She took his hand and led him straight into one of the stalls. Thump thump. Asher's heart was racing. It felt like a dream, too good to be true. Happiness had come too fast, like a tornado. He was caught in the storm with no way out. The big one he couldn't escape, the little one he couldn't fight. "I can't think about this anymore. I won't think about it." Back in the grand ballroom, 15 minutes flew by in a blur of anticipation. The atmosphere was electric. Every eye was fixed on the stage, a silent, collective breath held in waiting. Leo Flynn felt a knot of dread tighten in his stomach. "Mr. Young, time's up," a staff member announced. Jessica Young gave a crisp nod, signaling for the janitorial staff volunteers to wash their faces with clean water. The results for the aloe vera beauty formula were impressive, there was no denying it. But when the other 5 women wiped the volcanic clay formula from their faces, the comparison was staggering. The volcanic clay hadn't just won. It had annihilated the competition. The confident smirk on Leo Flynn's face evaporated, replaced by a mask of disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper. "That's impossible." The ballroom erupted. The effect of the Young family's new product is insane. "Oh my God, holy crap. I'm glad I saw this in person. If I watched a video, I would have sworn it was some deep fake editing trick." "Ms. Young, when does this go on sale? I want to pre-order 10 cases. Suddenly my imported French skin cream feels like cheap drugstore lotion. What was I even spending my money on? Damn, once this thing launches, Young Corp stock is going to the moon." The final volunteer washed the remaining volcanic clay formula from the other half of her face. The skin underneath was visibly smoother, brighter. Compared to her untouched skin, she looked like a different person. And when held against the half-treated with Leo's aloe vera formula, the difference was stark. The volcanic clay was in a league of its own. Years later, the Yang Corporation would leverage this secret volcanic clay formula into a global phenomenon. It would dominate the domestic market before sweeping across the world, becoming an internationally certified superbrand. Its effects were so dramatic, so transformative, that people jokingly started calling it Photoshop in a jar, a must-have product for influencers and celebrities alike. But that was all in the future. For now, Leo Flynn's face was a thundercloud of fury. He couldn't wrap his head around it. Was this product really the result of some massive R&D investment by the Yang family? Was it? Really? No. No way. This wasn't something you could just engineer in a lab. This was a secret, a closely guarded formula they must have acquired from somewhere. Judging by the quality and the results, it was leagues better than the aloe vera recipe his own master had given him. Jessica Yang had cheated. He was sure of it. She didn't have the guts to face him with her own company's products. Ms. Yang, where did you get that formula? He demanded. Catherine Yang arched an eyebrow. The nerve of this guy was unbelievable. Wasn't it our own R&D? She thought, though even she had her doubts. Still, she decided to shut him down first and ask her sister for the details later. What's it to you? Kate snapped, her voice dripping with disdain. Jessica gently pulled her sister back, a calm smile playing on her lips. She turned to Leo. And where did your formula come from? It's a family heirloom, Leo said, not missing a beat. Jessica shrugged. Mine too. You. Leo didn't believe her for a second. Family heirloom, my ass. If the Yang family had a miracle product like this, they would have monetized it years ago. They wouldn't wait until now. Who do you think you're fooling? The humiliation was a physical burn on his cheeks. He couldn't stand to be here a moment longer. He grabbed Manny Marcos by the arm, ready to storm out. He needed to contact Red Rose, his hacker, and find out where Jessica got that formula. He needed to regroup and plan his next move. Jessica's cool voice cut through the air behind him. Mr. Flynn, I believe you promised an apology. Leo and Manny froze. Leo's face twisted into an ugly scowl. Apologize? To her? Did she really think she was worthy? Manny, however, knew his boss's temper. He turned back, bowing deeply to Jessica. I'm sorry, Ms. Young. We lost, he said, a perfect picture of contrition. Jessica let out a cold laugh. Mr. Flynn, are you even a man? Can't take responsibility for your own words. Leo's expression darkened further. Hundreds of pairs of eyes were on him. And Jessica, she was a woman he was determined to conquer. Forcing him to apologize now. He swore he would make her pay for this 100 times over when she was finally his. Ms. Young, didn't my friend just apologize for me? Manny asked, his own face now grim. Jessica shook her head. That's his problem, not yours. She was going to make this as painful as possible for Leo. It wasn't about being cruel. It was about holding him to the promise he himself had made. She hadn't forced him into anything. Leo forced a tight smile, a dangerous glint in his eyes. Ms. Young, I'm sorry. Very good, woman. You just crossed the line. Don't blame me for what happens to the Yang family next. As Leo and Manny finally stalked away, Kate muttered, Sister, should I call security and have them thrown out? No need, Jessica said, shaking her head. Leo wouldn't dare show his face here any longer. He was desperate to investigate what had just happened, consumed by the feeling that someone, somewhere, was actively working against him. Back when he was overseas, his luck had been legendary. Women fell at his feet. Opportunities materialized out of thin air. But ever since returning to the States, everything felt wrong. Was it just a change of scenery? He didn't think so. The moment Leo was gone, the ballroom descended into a frenzy of excitement. Socialites, heiresses, and wealthy matriarchs, all with connections to the Yang family, swarmed Jessica. Jessica, you sly thing. You've been hiding this miracle product from us all this time. It's not like we can't afford it. Jess, I've been pulling so many all-nighters my skin is a disaster. You have to put me at the top of the list for the new volcanic clay mask. Sweetheart, can you set some aside for your aunt tomorrow? Please, everyone, rest assured, Jessica said, smiling as she calmed the crowd. We have plenty of stock ready. It seemed this product launch didn't need a celebrity endorsement from Lena, and after all, Jessica had suspected the volcanic clay formula would be a hit, but this was meteoric. It felt like strapping herself to a rocket. Meanwhile, at another table, Anya Kuznetsov frowned. She had been waiting for a long time, but Asher still hadn't returned. Though she sat perfectly still, her attention had been fixed on the entrance. Not a single movement escaped her notice. Remembering that Scarlet Jo had also left earlier, Anya sensed something was amiss. Unnoticed by those around her, she quietly rose from her seat and slipped away. Asher wanted to come back. He really did. But he was tied up. It wasn't his choice, of course. Sometimes the little guy just gets put in a tough spot by the big boss. 10 minutes earlier, they're imported artisanal candies, the she-devil said. Only got 5 packs. So once they're gone, they're gone. Consider this my payment for you saving me last time. Asher sighed dramatically. Fine. I hate it when people feel like they owe me. Are you kidding me? 5 packs. Just 5. God, if anyone saw this, they'd think I was broke. Who is this even supposed to feed? A mouse? I need 2 cases. No, 10 cases each. 20 cases total. Ping. The ding-ding monster system had illuminated a new path for him. He could follow the plot, sure, but it didn't matter if it went off the rails. As long as he saw it through to the end, he could go home. When the she-devil pushed, he could endure it for the sake of survival. Life was tough. You just had to grin and bear it. Scarlet just smiled, saying nothing, acting as if she were the one taking advantage of him, and he was the poor victim. She knew his tells by now, but she chose to let it slide. Still, the last few days had boosted his stamina considerably, which was why it was so damn ridiculous that, just moments into their encounter, he was already on the verge of collapse. She was just too damn good at this. It was like she'd been sent back from the future specifically to torment him. The Bulgari Hotel, he had to admit, had exceptionally nice private lounges in their event space restrooms. The one they were in was spotless, with no lingering odors. A cleaning crew clearly came through on a strict schedule. The door was heavy, solid, and soundproofed. There were vents, of course, so you wouldn't suffocate, but it was completely private. Every so often, the main restroom door would swing open. Each time, Asher and Scarlet's hearts leaped into their throats. Especially Asher's, because at those exact moments, the she-devil, perhaps deliberately, would make just enough noise to send a jolt of pure panic through him. His nerves felt like they were riding a rickety wooden roller coaster. Back in the ballroom. Missin, would you care for a drink? Cassie Lee approached, holding 2 glasses of red wine. Lena looked up at the woman, who was, she noted, just as stunningly beautiful as herself. Her internal guard lowered slightly. She accepted the glass with a slender, pale hand. Thank you. Lena was feeling incredibly awkward and out of place. She'd agreed to help promote Jessica Yang's new product because she had a gap in her schedule. But now that she was here, it was painfully obvious they didn't need her. The volcanic clay formula was a miracle product that would sell itself. She was completely redundant. Ugh. She took a sip of wine to drown her sorrows, which only made them swim more insistently. Cassie's eyes lit up. An opening. She continued making conversation with Lena, who ticked every box on Cassie's aesthetic checklist. The goddesses at Asher's table were a lost cause. They were all far too focused on him. So Cassie had pivoted, locking onto Lena, and what was the challenge in seducing a regular beauty? The real thrill was in capturing the female lead of the story. It was an ambitious goal, she knew, especially after her previous attempt to win over the whole group had failed so spectacularly. Turns out, top-tier goddesses were hard to seduce. Several times, the conversation nearly died, but Cassie, with her wealth of experience, managed to revive it each time. It wasn't that Lena was trying to kill the conversation, and Cassie certainly wasn't. She just couldn't figure out where the disconnect was. More young corp staff circulated through the hall, maintaining order. Jessica, sweating slightly from the effort, finally managed to calm the excited crowd. It was another testament to the incredible, world-changing value of the formula Asher had given her. Would she hide it? Take all the credit for herself? Never. Without Asher's formula, all of Young Corp's resources, the advanced labs, the production lines, the established customer base, would have been useless. They could never have achieved this result on their own. This wasn't about money. This was about staking her claim on Asher Vance. If you could all please be quiet for a moment, Jessica said into the microphone, her voice ringing through the hall. I'm sure you're all incredibly curious about where our new volcanic clay formula came from, and I have no intention of hiding it from you. She had just dropped a bomb, and the crowd's excitement ratcheted up to a whole new level. Leo Flynn's pathetic competition was already forgotten. Nobody here cared about the price of the product. They had money. What they cared about was the results. The results, and the damn results. They'd buy whatever worked best. And satisfying their curiosity was a primal human urge. To say they weren't dying to know where the formula came from would be a lie. Every eye in the ballroom was locked on Jessica, their collective appetite whetted. waiting for her to speak. The stage lights bathed Jessica Yang's exquisite face in a soft glow, highlighting the faint blush on her cheeks. She was radiant. Holding the microphone, she looked excitedly toward Chloe's table. It was time to make her declaration. But when her eyes found the table, Asher was gone. Jessica's brow furrowed. She scanned the rest of the room, but there was no sign of him. Why is Jessica looking at us? Chloe and the others wondered, equally confused. They glanced at Kate, who stood behind her sister on stage. A wild thought sparked in Chloe's mind. Did my idiot brother come up with the volcanic clay formula? She immediately dismissed it. The idea was absurd. The Vance family was in finance. Where would they get a secret skincare recipe? A formula this effective would cost a fortune to acquire. And given Asher's lazy disposition, he'd rather lie down than sit. And his philosophy was to take each day as it comes. The thought of him going through the trouble of getting this for Jessica was completely out of character. And yet, a sense of unease began to creep in. Zara Thorne blinked, also sensing that something was off. On stage, Jessica was taking too long to continue. The guests, their curiosity piqued, were getting restless. Ms. Young, are you going to tell us where the formula came from or not? It's probably a trade secret. Would you share it if you were her? Fine, don't tell us. I just want to know when my pre-order is going to ship. Jessica pulled her gaze back from the crowd. She couldn't find Asher, so he must have stepped out. It didn't matter. It wouldn't stop her from declaring war. She smiled, calming the crowd, and then, without another moment's hesitation, she dropped the bombshell. The person who gave me this volcanic clay formula as a gift is someone I'm sure many of you are familiar with. His name is Asher Vance. Silence. A brief, stunned silence, and then the entire ballroom erupted into chaos. She had said he gave it to her as a gift, not as a business partnership. Nobody in this room was a fool. They could all roughly calculate the market value of a product like this. It was in the tens of billions of dollars. No way. Is she serious? Damn, Asher Vance doesn't mess around. I'm so jealous. In ancient times, kings would light signal fires just to make a beautiful woman smile. Today, Asher Vance gifts a billion-dollar formula to win a lady's heart. Incredible. Whoa, is this a public confession? Don't get your hopes up. If I remember correctly, Asher is in love with Serafina Hayes. Chloe sat there, stunned. The impossible had just become reality. In her past life, she never heard anything about Asher having some secret skincare formula. If he had, she would have known about it. Her mind spun, feeling like she must have missed some crucial detail. She pictured Asher's lazy, carefree attitude. The way he hid his true strength, letting everyone think he was just a useless rich kid. Suddenly it all clicked. That son of a bitch. A formula worth billions of dollars. And he just gave it away. Your little sister needs money too, you know. To truly crush Leo Flynn and his dragon's den, she needed to strike hard and fast, leaving them no room to breathe. And what did she need for that? Money. Lots of it. And here was Asher, casually gifting a fortune to someone else. Yes, the Vance and Young families were close, but billions of dollars was a staggering amount. If their parents, Eleanor and Lawrence, ever found out, they would break both of Asher's legs. Chloe's nose wrinkled in frustration. She started looking around for Asher, ready to beat him up first, and then search him for any other valuable secrets he might be hiding. If she had Asher helping her, her plans would move so much faster than relying on her own future knowledge. As she searched, she realized that not only was Asher gone, but Anya was missing too. Huh? Where did they go? Chloe murmured, her brow furrowed as she scanned the room again. On stage, Jessica continued, I will be giving 70% of all net profits from this product line to Asher. The crowd gasped. It was a shocking move. She could have easily offered a 50-50 split, or even nothing at all. The Vances were already wealthier than the Yangs. Even if this product made a fortune, it wouldn't unseat Vance Corporation from its throne. They truly couldn't understand Jessica's strategy. But she didn't give them time to process it. Furthermore, I have one more thing to announce tonight. The birthday, the skincare launch. None of it is what's most important to me. She paused, her gaze sweeping over to lock eyes with Serafina Hayes and Zara Thorne. Her lips, painted a bold brick red, parted. What's important is that tonight, I'm going to ask Asher Vance to marry me. A staff member appeared at her side, presenting a pair of diamond rings. Men proposing to women was the norm. A woman proposing to a man was rare, especially when it came to the heirs of major families. These things were usually arranged by parents and elders, momentous decisions made to secure alliances. Marriages could be a sham, a business transaction to maintain a family's interests, with both parties living separate lives afterward. It was a sad reality, but it happened. Jessica's move, however, was something else entirely. The guests were utterly baffled. How dare she? Zara Thorne's face was a mask of cold fury, especially as Jessica's gaze met hers, full of challenge. So what if the Yangs were the head of the four great families? The Thornes ran the underworld. If she got pushed too far, she'd have no problem stuffing Jessica in a sack and feeding her to the sharks. If she couldn't have him, no other social climbing which was going to get him either. Serafina Hayes frowned, a clear wave of irritation washing over her as she heard the proposal. Behind Jessica, Kate's brow furrowed in thought. A strange, sharp pang went through her heart. But her sister had made her move. Even if Kate felt a flicker of her own resentment, she knew she had to step back. Holy hell, the New York tabloids are going to explode tomorrow. Forget tomorrow, they're going to explode tonight. Damn, Jessica Yang has guts. I'm rooting for her. I thought she was kidding, but she even has the rings ready. My God, I've been thinking way too small. The ballroom was in an uproar. The women in the room were filled with envy. Asher seemed to have gotten even more handsome lately, and his family was the most powerful in New York. If the gap in their social status wasn't so vast, they would have tried to pursue him too. The men, on the other hand, felt a different kind of awe. Jessica Yang was one of New York's most sought-after beauties. Just seeing her tonight, dress of the nines. Any man who married her would be hitting the jackpot. Chloe was completely bewildered. What was happening? Why was Jessica suddenly proposing to her brother? Why was everyone getting in on the action? Panic set in. She knew Asher had been a player in high school, hooking up with girls left and right. It wasn't surprising that her deskmate, Jessica, had fallen victim to his charms. Chloe even suspected that Kate harbored feelings for him too. This was a nightmare. It wasn't time for the big showdown between all the women yet. She couldn't let their family fall apart. Where on earth did he go? Chloe frantically scanned the room, desperately searching for Asher. Meanwhile, in a private lounge within the restrooms, Asher had finally adapted to the high-intensity work environment. The advantages of the attributes granted by his cute little system were on full display. He'd always suspected the system's rewards had a hidden, sinister purpose, and he'd been right. The whole thing was insane and insanely effective. Scarlett was a little dazed. This wasn't supposed to be happening. Had Asher anticipated her moves? It wasn't like this last time. Whatever. A promise was a promise, and that was her guiding principle. Nothing could shake her from it. As the minutes ticked by, a terrified shout echoed from the adjacent lounge. Whoa, who's in there? The sudden noise made Asher, Scarlett, and the newcomer all jump. Asher and Scarlett exchanged a wide-eyed look, thinking they'd been caught. The voice, belonging to a drunk rich kid, continued, slurring his words. You're in the wrong place, lady. The party's out there. He'd had a few too many, but even in his drunken state, he could see that the woman who had just walked in was breathtakingly beautiful. He gulped. Maybe this was his lucky night. Hey, if you're interested, I don't mind. He leered. I'll give you 30 grand. How about it? Get out. Anya Kuznetsov's voice was flat and cold. The rich kid's eyes finally focused, and he recognized her. Holy crap, wasn't that the goddess from Asher Vance's table? This was one of Asher's women. He wasn't stupid enough to touch that. Besides, she looked like she could kill him with a stare. He had no interest in starting trouble. He quickly tried to leave. Aya! He yelped a strange, high-pitched sound. Oh sure, he'd been so focused on talking he hadn't been paying attention to his other functions. The sound of liquid hitting the floor was followed by a foul smell. He hitched up his now-soaked pants and scrambled out of the restroom, praying Anya hadn't seen. If she told Asher, his tiny little family would be wiped off the map. A third-tier family on the lowest rung of the ladder might seem impressive to outsiders, but to the truly powerful, they were nothing. Oh crap, 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 crap. I'm so screwed. Why is SHE here? Asher was freaking out, his heart hammering against his ribs. Scarlett was just as panicked. But if the she-devil was one to back down, she wouldn't be the she-devil. Asher, come back out. Anya said, her voice calm from just outside their door. The three of them were separated by a single thin partition. Inside the silent lounge, Asher didn't dare breathe. Scarlett waved a pale hand in the air, her expression clearly saying, You're on your own. I'm busy. Asher took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice steady. Anya, you should go on ahead. I've been a little constipated lately. Anya's reply was unwavering. It's fine. I can wait. Oh, for the love of. This isn't about waiting or not waiting. Dragon Queen, don't push your luck. There's no need. Besides, it's not proper for you to be in here. Asher tried again. But Anya didn't move. A beautiful smirk played on Scarlett's lips. Why wasn't Anya coming in? It could only mean one thing. Anya tacitly approved of what she was doing. It was a good thing it was Anya who came looking for him. Anya was straightforward, almost single-minded. If Chloe or one of the others had found them, Scarlet would have died of social embarrassment on the spot. Asher, of course, had no idea what Scarlet was thinking. What? You think the Dragon Queen is single-minded? Ask her to carry out an assassination and see what happens. The target would be dead before they even knew what hit them. She's just not cut out for mundane, everyday life. At this point, Asher was out of options. Might as well take the plunge. He'd deal with the consequences later. An unknown amount of time passed. A few more people wandered in, only to be scared off by Anya's imposing presence. It was giving Asher a headache. Finally, the world went quiet. Anya, what are you doing in here? A curious, high-pitched voice chimed in. The sound hit Asher and Scarlet like a bolt of lightning. They froze, completely unprepared. Any word Scarlet might have said died in her throat. They stared at each other, eyes wide with terror, not daring to make sound. Asher and Scarlet felt like they were strapped to a roller coaster plunging into a volcano. Beads of sweat formed on their foreheads. This was bad. This was beyond bad. This was a nightmare. Asher felt like this was a fate worse than death. He would rather take a bullet than be seen like this by Chloe. Normally, it wouldn't be a big deal. They were fiancés, after all, but they weren't married yet, and there was just something weird about it. To put it simply, in his mind, Chloe was still a kid. This was adult stuff, and he was afraid she couldn't handle it. The bottom line was this was going to be awkward. Awkward enough to make his skull fly off. Scarlet's face, once flushed, was now pale with panic. She was already preparing for the worst-case scenario. If Chloe walked in, she would immediately play her trump card. She'd tell Asher about his inner voice. She didn't care if he could hear her or not. She'd sign it out if she had to. She'd tell him to stop thinking, to clear his mind of any and all incriminating thoughts. It was the only way to save them both. Anya, are you looking for my brother? He's not in here, is he? Chloe's brow furrowed, a look of disgust on her slightly chubby cheeks. She took a step inside on her short legs. Asher and Scarlet were on the verge of a complete meltdown. This was it. There was no escape. He hadn't been taken out by the Dragon King or the Dragon Queen, but he was about to be annihilated by his own little sister. Asher was filled with regret. He never should have chosen this stupid lounge. He should have just booked a suite. His family was the richest in the country. They could afford a hotel room, for God's sake. This was ridiculous. In a moment of desperate inspiration, Asher pressed a finger to his lips, signaling Scarlet to be quiet. But the she-devil knew it was pointless. Asher, however, was blissfully unaware. Their hearts pounded in unison. Asher's not here. Anya's voice cut through the tension. She walked toward Chloe. Asher and Scarlet exchanged a look of disbelief. Asher was the most shocked of all. Anya ne valit. Today, the sun must have risen in the west. The Dragon Queen was lying for him. It was unbelievable. Oh, Chloe's brow knitted together. She glanced curiously at the spot where Anya had been standing, her gaze lingering for a few seconds before she looked away. Well, then let's get out of here. Anya, she said, her voice filled with disdain. It's so gross in here. I don't want to stay another second. Anya nodded, and the two of them left. Like Asher, Chloe knew Anya's personality well, perhaps even better than he did. Asher's knowledge was based on what he'd read in the novel, and in his past life, he'd barely interacted with her. She was quiet, and he was just trying to get through the plot. They were acquaintances, but might as well have been strangers. Once he was sure they were gone, Asher peeked out to check the coast was clear, then signaled for the she-devil. Together, they fled the scene of the crime. It had been a close call, a stark warning for Asher. In the future, he would have to have a serious talk with the she-devil. No more tricks, no more surprise attacks. He was an old comrade, completely defenseless, and she just shows up with candy, ambushing him in his own world, in the damn song of his life. Ahem. Basically, she needed to stop trying to test a cadre like this. Who could withstand such a trial? The she-devil seemed to be in a great mood, grinning at him playfully. It sent a shiver down Asher's spine. He picked up his pace. God, she was fearless. The Vance siblings were officially terrified. They walked back in the ballroom, one after the other. The moment they entered, the lively, cheerful atmosphere of the hall died. A sudden, dead silence fell. Hundreds of pairs of eyes swiveled in their direction, all focused on them. Asher froze. Don't look at me, people. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted gossips. If I made my move, the Dragon King would be dead, but the root cause of all this drama isn't me. He hated being the center of attention, especially like this. It was unnerving. Asher's brow furrowed. All he did was go to the restroom. Why was he suddenly the main event when he came back? It felt like sneaking out of study hall to use the bathroom, only to run smack into the principal on his way back. Awkward, didn't even begin to cover it. Whoa, Asher's back. I thought he'd already left. Probably just went to the men's room. What's gonna happen now? Jessica's in a tough spot. Asher's in love with Serafina. Plus he has a fiancée. This proposal seems doomed from start. Scarlett arched an eyebrow, equally confused by the sudden attention. Before they had time to process it, the sound of clicking heels echoed across the marble floor. Jessica Young, stunning in a green off-the-shoulder gown, was walking toward them, holding two small, elegant boxes. Seeing that familiar, cheerful smile from his childhood friend sent a jolt of alarm through Asher. He quickly scanned the room. The protagonist was nowhere to be seen. Where the hell did the Dragon King go? Slacking off. He knew that look on Jessica's face all too well. When she smiled at him like that, it meant trouble. Asher instinctively tried to sidestep and walk away. Ping! Before he could even lift his foot, the system's cold, mechanical tone sounded in his head. He waited a few seconds. Nothing. Not a single follow-up message. Ping? Ping for what? I'll ping your damn. If you have something to say, say it. Don't make me play guessing games. You've got the guts to ping me, but not the decency to offer a hint? Asher mentally unleashed a torrent of abuse at the useless system. Standing beside him, Scarlett felt a flicker of nervousness. She knew there was a chance Asher's inner voice would accidentally reveal what had just happened in the lounge. It was a double-edged sword. Since she'd already made her move, it didn't matter if Jessica found out. It was bound to happen sooner or later. In fact, the news would eventually spread to all the other heroines. The benefits outweighed the risks. The worst that could happen was some social embarrassment. And what was so shameful about human nature, anyway? Jessica stopped directly in front of Asher. Her gaze was fixed on him, though she did spare a brief, frowning glance at Scarlett standing behind him. She didn't say anything about it. Instead, she spoke his name, her voice clear and serious. Asher. Huh? What's this? I was gone for 5 minutes. Do you really need to roll out the red carpet for my return? Asher swallowed hard. When Jessica got this serious, it was never simple. Yeah? What's up? They were old friends. So what if she was one of the heroines? It was what it was. What happened next left him completely dumbfounded. There, in front of everyone, Jessica knelt on one knee, her milk-white legs bending gracefully. She opened the small box in her hand, revealing a dazzling, expensive-looking diamond ring. With the utmost sincerity, she said, "Marry me." Asher. Scarlett. The words hit Asher like a lightning bolt. Could you believe it? A certified mega beauty, on one knee, proposing to him? They say it's easier for a woman to pursue a man than the other way around. But for a villain to pursue a heroine, you have to overcome her strength, the protagonist, and destiny itself. For a heroine to pursue a villain, you have to overcome the entire script. Tui. Asher was beyond shocked. Translate this for me. He wanted to scream at the system. What the hell does heroine proposing to the villain even mean? This is insane. Fighting the plot was exhausting enough. Now he had to fight the heroines too. God, give him a break. His mind was racing, replaying the events in the lounge. But strangely, all those thoughts were being blocked. His inner voice was now only broadcasting commentary related to the plot. Scarlett blinked, then a bewitching smile spread across her face. She reached out a long, slender finger and gently poked the stunned Asher. He turned to her in surprise. She suddenly puffed out her cheeks like a little goldfish in a tank, alternating from left to right, left to right. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. Asher's brain finally rebooted. What the? Seriously? Now is not the time for games. Scarlett's eyes danced with amusement. She had been expecting to hear something useful, but in the next moment, she frowned. Aside from his frantic, internal rant about why a heroine like Jessica was proposing to him, she couldn't hear anything else. Had he just not thought about it? She tilted her head, pondering. Jessica's brow twitched. Seeing Asher messing around with another woman right in front of her was infuriating. Asher, marry me, she repeated, her voice firm, her eyes deadly serious. The ballroom erupted once more. The socialites who were friends with Jessica started acting as a hype squad. Marry her. Marry her. Marry her. Whoa, this is so exciting. If Jessica can go all out for her happiness, maybe I can go for that cute barista I like. No, you can't. Your dad will have him killed. I never knew Jessica could be so bold. A beautiful, rich woman proposing to him with a diamond ring. Asher had dreamed about this once a long, long time ago. The damn system had told him not to worry about the plot derailing anymore, to just go with the flow. His eyelid twitched. He had a feeling the system knew something it wasn't telling him. After a long pause, he looked at the girl who had grown from a pretty kid into a devastatingly beautiful woman. Are you serious? He asked it casually, as she was his childhood friend. But the moment the words left his mouth, he regretted it. He should have just stayed silent. Yes, I'm serious. Jessica nodded, her tone resolute. She took the ring from the box and went to slide it onto his finger. Asher flinched, instinctively taking a step back. Just then, a cool, commanding voice cut through the air. I object to this marriage. I object to this marriage. The crowd gasped, turning to see who had spoken. It was Zara Thorne, striding toward Asher on sharp stiletto heels. Serafina Hayes was right behind her, her expression unreadable. Almost everyone in the room was completely bewildered. That was Zara Thorne, the heiress to the Thorne family, one of the 4 great families. They could understand Jessica pursuing Asher. Some of them had been classmates and knew they were childhood friends. But what was Zara's motive for objecting? It made no sense. A wild thought began to form in their minds. What are you talking about? They're a perfect match. Who are you to object? A voice blurted out from the crowd. Toby Page had been thrilled to see his big bro Asher about to score. Jessica Young was gorgeous. Asher was handsome, and a union between the Vance and Young families would be unstoppable. Hearing someone object had pissed him off, and the words just flew out his mouth. A second later, he was filled with regret. He had just stepped on a landmine. As Zara's murderous gaze swept over the crowd, everyone instinctively parted, leaving Toby exposed. He froze, a look of pure terror on his face. The Thorne family was notoriously ruthless. Even if they didn't kill him, they had 1,000 ways to make him suffer. Big bro Asher, help me. Toby cried, pleading with his eyes. You won't abandon your little bro, right? Asher felt a massive headache coming on. He couldn't even save himself right now. How was he supposed to help anyone else? Jessica, looking as if she had expected this, smiled slyly. And what right do you have to object? Zara tore her gaze away from Toby. The room fell silent again, everyone waiting to hear her reason. What she said next left them utterly speechless. Pointing a long, pale finger at Asher, Zara scoffed. What right do I have? The fact that I like him too. That's my right. Catherine Young had made her way over, feeling a protective instinct to stand by her sister, though her own eyes kept darting toward Asher. With Zara's cards on the table, Jessica laughed and turned her gaze to Serafina. And you? Serafina paused, then replied coldly. I've been sitting for too long. My body is tired. She added, Mr. Young, are your guests not allowed to stand up and walk around? Jessica smiled sweetly. Of course they are, little sister. Don't worry about it. Jessica was 3 days older than Serafina, and right now, those 3 days felt like a lifetime of advantage. Serafina's I twitched. Jessica was clearly trying to get under her skin. Ms. Young, I would prefer if you addressed me as Ms. Hayes. You can save little sister for your actual sister, Jessica. Jessica didn't back down. Ms. Young, Ms. Hayes. It sounds so formal. I much prefer calling you sister. It's more intimate. If you don't like it, you're free to leave my birthday party early. Serafina glanced instinctively toward Asher, her expression instantly reverting to its usual icy mask. Is that a threat? Are you kicking me out? Play fair, Jessica, Zara chimed in. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because this is your party. The 3 heroines were now in a tense standoff, with Asher as the prize at the center. The ballroom was buzzing, the gossip reaching a fever pitch. Most of the guests couldn't even hear what the 3 women were saying, but they were swept up in a wave of drama. Scarlett stood back, watching the chaos unfold with a faint smile. Let them fight it out. When they were all weakened, she would step in. The she-devil looked like a master strategist, calmly watching a battle rage, confident of her victory. And the target of all this, Asher, was deep in a state of self-doubt, his mouth hanging open. Holy crap, it's over. I become the male lead. Isn't this the kind of treatment the protagonist gets? Winning the hearts of all the heroines without even trying? Doing some insignificant little thing and making them all fall for him? But what did I even do? He mentally replayed the recent events. He hadn't done anything. He'd been a diligent, responsible villain, keeping to his routine. Show up, follow the plot, go home. The only deviation was his occasional massage appointments. Was that a crime now? Hey, can we stop fighting? I'm the villain. The protagonist is Leo Flynn. Leo Flynn. He's the guy you're supposed to be chasing. Not me. You got the wrong person. I'm just a villain. Ping. Congratulations, host, for obtaining stamina +1. Asher. Do you have a lot of questions, little boy? This couldn't go on. He looked at Serafina, then glanced back at Scarlett. He knew this would never end on its own. It felt a bit like a betrayal to the she-devil, a cold-hearted move, but he was out of options. Finally, you're useful for something, you stupid woman. Ahem. Zara, Jessica, stop fighting, Asher announced gravely. The person I like is Serafina Hayes. All the women simultaneously shot him a glare. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Then they turned back to each other and resumed their argument over who had primary ownership rights to Asher. The atmosphere was getting weirder and weirder. They were completely ignoring him, treating him like an object. He knew he couldn't go against a woman's will, but he was the damn villain. What did their marriage plans have to do with him? He was going to become the protagonist stand-in. From the moment he was born, he was destined to be a villain, not a hero. Fate would never be on his side. Going home was his only path to survival. Otherwise, who knew when he might just randomly die? There was only one way to escape this. Only a heroine could defeat a heroine. A villain had no place in this fight. Asher turned to leave, but before he could take a step, a familiar, impatient, high-pitched voice called out. Where have you been, you idiot? Anya and I have been looking all over for you. A fierce little lowly and a tall, curvy goddess with legs for days were walking straight toward him. Anya and I have been looking all over for you. Chloe and Anya walked up, completely blocking Asher's escape route. A cold dread crept up his spine. What was going on? Had he stumbled into a heroine convention today? They were all acting completely unhinged. If the system hadn't given him that earlier hint, he'd probably have lost his mind by now. The plot had gone completely off the rails. I just stepped out for a bit, Asher replied, rubbing his nose. Chloe's eyes narrowed. She knew that tell. Whenever her brother rubbed his nose while talking, he was lying. Her gaze followed Asher's subconscious glance behind him and landed on Scarlett, who was watching her with a pleasant smile. Chloe's mind started working. Scarlett had also disappeared earlier and hadn't come back until now, right alongside Asher. Something was definitely up between them. She tried to bait him, to guide the conversation in a way that would make his inner voice spill the beans. But no matter what she tried, it was useless. She couldn't hear anything incriminating. Instead, all she got was a running commentary about the protagonist Leo Flynn, the screwed-up script, and how all the heroines had gone crazy. Zara moved to Asher's left side and smoothly linked her arm with his. I said he's mine, so he's mine. Oh, really? Jessica laughed, moving to his other side and taking his other arm. The two women glared at each other, neither willing to back down. Chloe's mind was reeling. Damn it. Jessica is already making a move. She couldn't reveal her own feelings yet. Dealing with Leo Flynn was the priority. If it came down to a fight she couldn't win, she'd just ask Asher what colored duffel bag he preferred, then kidnap him and take him overseas. The world was a big place. They'd never find him. She might not have a big butt, but she had a cute little one. Enough. Aren't you going to ask my opinion? Asher said, his face dark, his tone perfectly calibrated to sound genuinely angry. In reality, what the hell is this? Are you all insane? You all need to go home and have a good, long think about why this plot has derailed so spectacularly. I'm out of here. You people are terrifying. Ping. Congratulations, host, for obtaining plus 5% height for little Asher. Asher's angry expression froze on his face. He was about to lose it. The heroines weren't the crazy ones. He was. This damn system was definitely messing with him, trying to drive him to an early grave. This was beyond absurd. Of course, none of the heroines could hear these particular thoughts. Zara leaned in close, her lips brushing against his ear. Your opinion, she whispered, is irrelevant. Are you kidding me? I'm not even a person. The next moment, Zara formed her hand into the shape of a gun and pressed it against his waist. You just lie back and enjoy it. The rest of us will handle things, and the winner gets to decide what happens to you. You can resist, you can run. But if I catch you, buy you, this. Asher sucked in a sharp breath, looking at his ex-girlfriend with a hint of terror. Had she developed some kind of weird fetish? In middle school, she'd been such a cute, shy girl. How had she turned into this? This Yandere? Who in their right mind would date a Yandere in real life? One wrong move, and you're dead. Then again, the spot where her finger was pressing was suggestive. Maybe she wasn't talking about a real gun, but another kind of gun. The thought was too much for his poor heart to handle. You all want to fight? Go ahead. I have things to do. I'm leaving. Plot progression now only required him to show his face. Since there was no plot to follow at the moment, staying here was just asking for trouble. But Zara and Jessica, like two Imperial guards, held him fast. They had reached a silent consensus. Tonight was the perfect opportunity. There was a thin veil between them and Asher, and if they didn't break through it now, their relationship would never progress. Scarlet and Chloe, the big and little she-devils, stood by and watched, making no move to intervene. The Dragon Queen was also watching quietly. The energy in the ballroom was at an all-time high, surrounded by beautiful women, one on each arm. Wasn't this every man's dream? The other rich kids in the room were green with envy. They needed to get some pointers from Asher on how to pick up women. They thought they were players, but compared to Asher, they were amateurs. They were chasing arm candy. Asher was conquering goddesses. Elsewhere, Lena Ann's interest was piqued. She knew of Asher, but she couldn't comprehend the actions of the heiresses of the Thorn and Yang families. Jessica and Zara were super goddesses, beautiful, rich, and talented. The line of men wanting to date them would stretch from New York to Rome. And now, they were fighting over one man. It was baffling. Cassie licked her red lips, her curiosity ignited. She could tell Asher was one of her own kind. His skills were on par with hers. But he was playing in a different league, seducing universally acknowledged, nation-toppling beauties, not just girls who were considered goddesses by a small group of people. "Looks like I need to get some tips from the boss," Cassie murmured, glancing at Lena Ann. She had a feeling Asher would know how to win her over. It was worth a try. Back in the thick of it, Asher couldn't take it anymore. The damn system kept giving him charm points, and now he was suffering the consequences. Being handsome was a curse. "Anya, take me home." Asher looked at the Dragon Queen, feeling a little embarrassed to ask. But he was out of time. "Okay," Anya nodded. Zara narrowed her eyes. "You want to fight?" In a smooth, powerful motion, Anya swung a roundhouse kick. She was wearing pants, not a dress. Zara raised an elbow to block, a jolt of force traveling up her arm. She knew Anya was strong and instinctively went to retaliate with a kick of her own, but stopped halfway, realizing her dress would expose her. In that brief moment of hesitation, Anya's fist flew towards Zara's face. "Don't hurt her!" Asher's voice rang out. Anya's fist morphed into an open palm, pushing Zara back. The two women were now separated by several feet. Asher breathed a sigh of relief. Thank God the Dragon Queen listened to him. Zara looked at her arm, which was already turning red. Her expression grew serious. "Not bad, but you're not taking him anywhere." Asher wanted to cry. "Zara, please stop. The Dragon Queen will literally kill you. Just be good and calm down." He opened his mouth to say something but felt a tug. Without warning, he was pulled into a soft, warm embrace. It was Anya. To an outsider, it looked like the 6-foot Asher was nestling like a small bird in the 5 feet 7 inches Anya's arms. The scene was utterly ridiculous. "I'm taking him today," Anya said, her voice flat. "I'd like to see anyone try and stop me. I'm taking him today. I'd like to see anyone try and stop me." To say the most badass things in the most deadpan voice. Only the Dragon Queen could pull that off. Asher hadn't been this speechless since. "Well, the last time Anya did something like this. You can make your point without holding me, you know? Does this make you look more intimidating? Or cooler? You're not the type to show off." Anya's body was incredibly warm, like holding a human hot water bottle. Zara's face went dark. "Let him go," she said, her voice dangerously low. "Or I'll beat you until you do." Anya's expression remained placid. She didn't react, didn't let go of Asher. Asher was panicking internally. Zara was strong, but she was no match for the Dragon Queen. Not even close. "Crap. Zara, you're crazy. Get out of the way. Your character build is still in the early game. You're not strong enough to fight the final boss. Move. Now." Seeing Asher being held by another woman, Scarlet just smiled. A hug was nothing. Besides, she owed Anya a favor for what happened in the lounge. This counted as repayment. The most confused person in the room was Chloe. Her big eyes were full of question marks. What the hell? In her past life, it had taken a long time for Anya to develop feelings for Asher. In this life, they hadn't even known each other for a week, and Anya had already fallen? Was this a joke? Chloe felt like all her carefully laid plans were crumbling. With Anya in the mix, the situation was completely uncontrollable. There was almost nothing that could restrain her. She could come and go as she pleased, and her combat skills were off the charts. Even if Chloe and Zara teamed up now, or even in the future when they were at their peak, they still wouldn't be a match for Anya. It was a complete power gap. Anya had been training as an assassin since childhood. A few ancient martial arts disciplines learned over a few years couldn't close that distance. "Bastard." Zara glared at Anya, about to make a move. Seeing two heroines about to fight over him, a villain, again, Asher had had enough. If they fought, one would win, the other would end up in the hospital, and either way, he would be the one to suffer. The more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became. All the recent annoyances piled up, and something inside him finally snapped. "I said enough. Both of you stop." This time, his inner voice was silent. This was genuine anger, and it was far more effective. The heroines all looked at him with complex expressions. Zara, in particular, looked like a little girl who had been caught doing something wrong, her eyes pleading. Anya released him. Asher took a deep breath and, without another word, turned and walked away. He couldn't afford to show any softness. His mind was a mess. Why had Zara started liking him? It couldn't have been from middle school, could it? That didn't make sense. Heroines weren't that easy to win over. They had their own standards, their own high expectations. He figured his success in middle school was just a fluke, taking advantage of her before she had fully matured. He'd forgotten all the details of their relationship years ago. There was no reason for her to still be hung up on him. He walked away, lost in thought. The women watched him go, none of them willing to chase after him while he was in such a foul mood. Except for the Dragon Queen. After a few minutes of silence, Jessica blinked, breaking the tension with a mischievous smile. So, should we all have a little chat? Zara, still looking upset, didn't leave. Yes. Serafina remained silent, but she didn't leave either. Her intentions were clear. Jessica waved over a staff member and instructed them to manage the guests. Then, she led all the heroines, including Cassie and Lena, and whom she invited after learning Lena was also a heroine, away from the ballroom. The situation was already chaotic. What was one more person? Cassie wanted to object, but she was outvoted. Scarlett, having already secured her victory, was happy to go along. Things were getting interesting. Meanwhile, Asher had left the Bulgari Hotel and was standing on the curb, about to hail a cab. About 10 feet behind him, a small shadow followed. Whenever Asher turned around, Anya would also turn, either looking at the sky, the ground, or pretending she was just coincidentally walking the same way. Her dorky look was surprisingly cute. As a top-tier assassin, Anya could have easily tailed him without being noticed. It was clear she wanted him to see her. Asher's anger had mostly dissipated. Her clumsy, almost cute antics made it impossible to stay mad at her. "Come here," he said, beckoning. The Dragon Queen pretended not to hear, looking around curiously. Asher's eye twitched. He raised his voice. "Stop looking around, Anya. I'm talking to you." "Oh." Anya turned and walked toward him, her long legs closing the distance in a few graceful strides. One step, two steps, like the devil's dance. Asher's mood lifted. He subconsciously raised his hand to pat her head, but stopped mid-air. "Wait, you can't touch a dragon's head." What if she reflexively threw him over her shoulder? He'd go flying. He quickly pulled his hand back, but a pale, slender hand shot out and caught his. She took his hand and placed it on top of her own head. Asher blinked, confused. He instinctively ruffled her hair, marveling at how soft it was. Seeing her still staring at him, he cleared his throat. "Thanks for covering for me in the lounge tonight." "Oh," she said. "Why are you thanking me? Unless you were doing something shady in there." Her tone was flat, her expression unreadable. She sounded as calm as ever, but to Asher, her words were loaded. Asher looked at her, taken aback. "Shady business? Don't you dare accuse me of such things, Dragon Queen. I, Asher Vance, have lived my life with honor and integrity." "You got the wrong guy." Of course, he couldn't say that out loud. "Shady business? What are you talking about?" he said, tossing the question right back at her. Though he was sweating bullets, he had to maintain a calm facade. It was basic deflecting 101. He thought that would be the end of it, but he had underestimated the Dragon Queen's curiosity. Her beautiful face moved closer and closer, until he could feel her warm breath on his skin. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. Right now, Asher wanted those windows boarded up. Anya's expression was neutral, but the pressure he felt was immense. "Are you sure?" she asked again, her voice still impossibly calm. He swallowed. "Positive. Damn it. I swear, nothing else happened today. If you ask again, I'll kill myself." "Be good, Dragon Queen. You can't learn these bad habits, okay?" Ping. "Congratulations, host, for obtaining cash plus $10,000. Asher was a seasoned actor by now, dedicated to his craft. He could embody any role, delivering a truly authentic performance. The role he was playing now was boyfriend caught cheating, being interrogated by the other woman who, in this scenario, was not the least bit afraid of the main girlfriend. The world was a strange place, and Anya was definitely the type to march to the beat of her own drum. She had the power to back it up. "Oh," Anya said, finally pulling back and standing quietly by his side. Asher let out a sigh of relief. He had been dancing on the edge of a knife. But wait, what he did with his candy was none of the Dragon Queen's business, right? He chuckled to himself, feeling a little better. He hailed a cab and headed home with Anya in tow. Meanwhile, After storming out of the Bulgari, Leo Flynn's face was a mask of cold fury. Those damn women. All of them. How dare they side against me? He had the looks, the skills, the power. Why did they all flock to that useless, spoiled brat? Had he not shown them his true strength? Perhaps he needed to give them a little taste of it, to make them submit. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. And that person behind Jessica Young, the one who gave her the formula. They were no ordinary individual. They probably had a master, just like him. His enemy was in the shadows while he was out in the open. He had to unmask this person. He dialed a number he hadn't called in a long time, a number that always made him cringe. Gritting his teeth, he made the call. After a few rings, a lazy voice answered. Hello? Your timing is impeccable. I just finished an all-nighter and was about to go to sleep, and then you call. Red Rose yawned deeply. Leo took a breath. I need you to investigate someone. Reina Gawa. K. Red Rose spoke lazily. Let's hear it. I don't know if it's a man or a woman. Tonight, the Yang family launched a new volcanic clay skincare product, but the ingredients are far beyond what their current R&D team is capable of. I need you to find the person behind it. Sorry, that's outside my service area, Reina replied, rolling over in bed. Did he think she was some kind of god? Always giving her these impossible tasks. Besides, she was exhausted. She hadn't slept a wink since last night. This job wasn't worth it. I'll pay more, Leo said through clenched teeth. Those three magic words. There was no sweeter sound in the world. Reina, the queen of hackers, reluctantly opened her bloodshot eyes. Her voice softened. How much more? Leo's face grew even darker. Find the person, and I'll pay you $100,000. What? Only $100K? For a needle in a haystack job like this? The person who gave them the formula is undoubtedly under the highest level of protection from the Yang family. This won't be easy, Reina scoffed. $100,000? Was he trying to pay off a beggar? She knew this was going to be a tough job. If she didn't squeeze this cheapskate for all he was worth, she'd be doing a disservice to all the times he'd haggled her down in the past. Leo paused. She had a point. Name your price. Even as he said it, he was already planning his counteroffer. Reina always highballed her initial quote. Reina swung her bare feet up toward the ceiling, kicking them back and forth rhythmically. 1 million, she said without thinking. Are you trying to rob me? Leo blurted out. Reina had anticipated this. He wanted to haggle, so she'd start with an astronomical figure and let him chop it down. Do you want the job or not? She said, her tone hardening. Leo reined in his temper. It's too much. No kidding, Sherlock. I can come down a little, she said. 950,000. I said a little, not a little bit. 900. Leo, don't push it. I've dealt with hagglers before, but no one slashes prices like you. 700,000. Leo gritted his teeth. To find the person who had ruined his plan, he was willing to pay. Deal, Reina said cheerfully, a sweet smile spreading across her face. Making money was never shameful. Wait, Leo felt a jolt of panic, a sinking feeling that he'd been had. This was a setup. He quickly added, if you don't get me what I want in a short amount of time, I'm cutting the price. Ugh, you're such a nag. Bye, Reina said, and promptly hung up. In reality, the job was probably worth somewhere between 100 and 300,000. 500,000 max. The price Leo had agreed to was far beyond that. Reina rubbed her eyes and yawned, reluctantly climbing out of her warm bed. She padded over to her computer. The grind never stopped. The sooner she got this done for Leo, the better. That way, he wouldn't have any excuses to dock her pay.